I'm Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, live in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've completed 4 exciting rounds of the Millionaire Chess Open. Today is Millionaire Monday, and it all starts right now.
The ancient sport of chess is about to change forever. Welcome to the highest stakes chess tournament in history, featuring the game's most talented grandmasters and a large pool of players from around the world, all playing for $1 million purse. Welcome to the first ever Millionaire Chess Open from the main ballroom of Planet Hollywood on the Las Vegas Strip. Chess will never be the same.
Let's have a look at those boards. I see the players sitting there at the game waiting for the clock to start. Robert, this must be an amazing feeling for them, especially the guy on screen now, Jianchao. He probably didn't expect to be here entering into the tournament, but here he is at Millionaire Monday with the white pieces, I might add. White pieces against Wesley So. What would you play?
Well, if I were him, I'd keep with what he was doing in the tiebreak. He played very, very solid, smart chess. He's not trying to crush his opponent on the board and risk a counterattack. Instead, he's relying on his instincts, relying on his quick playing, and he's just playing very smart moves. He knows that the onus is on his opponent. As the lowest rated player in this Final Four, he knows that it's not up to him to prove himself. His opponents, they're stronger than him, higher rated, and it's really up to them to show that they can beat him.
Yes, and let's have a look at the other huge matchup of this semifinal. It's Yangyi with the white pieces. How do you think should he alter his play, what he did yesterday? What kind of strategy would you employ right now against Robson?
I think he just needs a dynamic game. Ray's a very, very, very strong chess player, but he does get into time trouble. With only 25 minutes on the clock to start, well, you don't have much time, and as soon as the opening is done, he could be in time trouble. So I think that Yu really has the advantage here if he plays something tactical, something sharp, but not taking too many risks.
Well, and he's a brilliant theoretician as well. So with the white pieces, I'm sure he's going to try and push that advantage through today. Lawrence.
Yeah, well, we all saw the tiebreaks to get to this Millionaire Monday yesterday. I think I would like to reflect Robert's sentiments regarding Zhao's play. He played very pragmatically, he played solid, and the onus isn't on him, as Robert rightly said, to defeat Wesley So. So if I were him, I would just say, okay, you come and beat me. I'm going to play solid, I'm not going to risk much, and I'm going to say, okay, if you can show your strength, do it. It's not a must-win scenario either at the moment. Remember, there's a round of 25 minutes, then there's a round of 15 minutes, and then there's a round of 5 minutes if it comes to that. So the more Xiao holds Wesley, in other words, if Xiao were to tie the first round of 25 minutes, tie the second round of 15 minutes, even get down to the Blitz or the Armageddon, the more that happens, the more they get less and less time on the clock, the greater his chances, in my opinion. After all, when it gets to the real quick times, nerves are greater, the pressure is greater on Wesley, and there are greater chances for both sides to go wrong, which is better for Zhao as he is on paper.
Well, exactly, Lawrence. I mean, that's the strategy employed in the past in a few of the World Championship candidates matches. You know, what we were saying yesterday, where they just, the weaker, on paper, the weaker rated player will play solidly, solidly, solidly. Nothing is expected of them. The stronger player can't push too much. So what happens? A few draws, and guess what happens then? Quick chess. 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, and as time gets less and less, their chances of winning is greater. So let's have a look at this. The first few moves, I believe we have to wait a few moments before the live transmission gets to our screens. But I've been told that we're going to get the moves in real time today, and we have a beautiful shot there of the clock, so we can keep an eye on that, because the clocks are everything in the semifinals of Millionaire Chess. Here we see Wesley playing against C4 here. Talk us through this opening, Lawrence.
Well, I will do very shortly. I can see it on the board there. It's a very well-known line, actually. Robert might even be more of a specialist in this. I've played this once or twice with Black. We recently saw, actually, none other than a certain Levon Aronian score a crushing win in this line with white. If we bring the board up, oh, I believe those are just, bear with me for 1 second, that's not quite the right game. We'll try and match those up in a moment. Perhaps we can just bring a board up that we haven't seen yet. Let's keep that on the screen. That isn't actually the position we can see on the board between Xiao and So. That's a slightly different game. But if we can just concentrate on the bottom right-hand side, the live position there, this is what we call a theoretical position. It means that it's been seen before, it's been analyzed by the top players, it's been recommended by the books, and it's the first moment where it looks as though white is thinking. We will bring that up very shortly indeed. Now, Zhou, he needs to be careful because Wesley, we know how well prepared he is. You don't get to number 10 in the world nowadays in chess without having a fantastic opening repertoire and arsenal. You just can't get there. When you get to the elite level, you get busted out of the opening if you don't know what you're doing. So as Xiao, who is not an elite player, he's a strong grandmaster, of course, he knows his stuff, but he needs to just take that extra bit of care in the opening. He's got 25 minutes, he doesn't have to go crazy, because if he missteps, he's going to get punished with either white or black. So hopefully, let's see if we can get these games up in a short second. I don't know, what about you, Robert? What are your thoughts on the opening at hand?
Well, unfortunately, the incorrect board is up right now, but I like what Zhao is doing. He's playing a position that is slightly better for him. He's going to play for the initiative, play for the small advantage, and slowly press. If he doesn't win, well, as we've mentioned time and again, the onus is on Wesley So to prove himself, and I don't think Wesley is in the mindset where he needs to win this one. He'll try to win the second game with the white pieces. I think he just wants to equalize and make a draw in this one first.
Well, guys, I'd like to point out it's early days, very early days, but have a look at those clocks. This is the opening. This is a rapid game. Wesley has used 6 seconds. Okay, he knows exactly what he is doing in this opening. He's well prepared. And I've got to say that it's early days, but still that's significant because these grandmasters, they know their openings till the 20th move sometimes, you know? They should just blitz it out as Wesley is doing. But it seems that Jianchao is taking his time to think. And when I say taking his time, I know that means a minute and a half or so, but it's still, that is a lot of time to think in the opening for a rapid match, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a bunch of time to think, but again, I think he's going to have a slight advantage throughout this game. Nothing special. It's what he did in the tiebreaks. He was very solid, but not playing particularly special chess. He's in the zone, he's a fighter, and that bodes well for him.
That's right, and I think Lawrence has their game up on the screen.
Well, we're going to get that shortly, Ariane, but just a few comments on what you said, because it is important to talk about the psychological aspect at the moment. Wesley with black in this game, he's chosen a very interesting variation, which is a reasonably solid one, actually. We can see there on the board, we're on side view, so to speak, but if we look at what's happened, we've had a mass exchange of pieces. All the queens have come off. We've had all the knights are off the board as well, and we've reached essentially what can be called a middle to endgame position where material is equal. We can see the double pawns there in the C file on C4 and C3. That's good news for black because obviously they can become weak. That said, white has just played a good move, pawn to d4, occupying the center. But Wesley looks like he's chosen very, very well at the moment, got no problems. And, you know, it's those positions, you know, what I've been most impressed with Wesley this tournament, his maturity. He's just turned 21, but he plays like he's been playing for 40 years. He has got positions when we were playing the main tournament where he was equal, maybe had the tiniest symbolic advantage, but he just pressed. He just pressed and pressed and pressed, and that's where his class as world number 10 really shows.
Well, Lawrence, we got to agree with you. You know, you don't get to the top 10 without a bit of solid play. I think we have the position now that is correct on screen.
Yeah.
Robert, what are your thoughts about this endgame?
Yeah, I think the position is slightly better for white despite the double C pawns. it can be tricky. If you allow those pawns to stay on the c-file forever, they could become weaknesses. For now, they're more than acceptable. I like the move that Zhou just played. He went bishop to c6 check. And the idea is that if the bishops are traded on d7, now the pawn on c4 is a lot safer because it can't come under attack from the light square bishop. And he's a very simple plan. He's going to move his king to d2 to d3, eventually move his bishop out, and it's just slightly better for white because of the space advantage.
I think that Wesley So chose this opening very, well, specifically. You can see he hasn't even used a minute on his clock, and he knows he's going to secure equality, a draw, pretty easily. I believe that black is going to sail through this with an easy draw, and he's going to go for it with white. What do you think, Lawrence?
Well, I don't know if it's going to be an easy draw. I certainly would back the draw if I had to. We've had an exchange of bishops now. If we quickly go to the board, we've had even more moves. So there was bishop c6, check, king to d8. I believe he played king to e2 and bishop to b7. Yes, that's correct. So we've had this mass exchange. More pieces off the board means we're getting closer to a draw. I would back the draw, absolutely. But
Well, we'll get back to this one, Lawrence, because we have paid zero attention to the other game, which
Yeah.
is equally important in this semi-final. Ray Robson versus... Sorry, what am I saying?
Yeah,
It is
Yu
Ray Robson
Yangyi
versus
versus
Yu
Ray
Yangyi, that's
Robson.
right. Let's have a look at that game. The young American there concentrating with the black pieces.
this is great, this game. I'm so happy we've got what we've got on the board, but I really fear for Ray. I mentioned before how Yu Yangyi has had a great year, but what I failed to mention is that these Chinese young players are so well prepared in the opening. They are so well prepared that you've got to be very, very careful. Now, we're going to bring the board position up in a moment. The one on the left side.
It's accurate now.
It's the correct position. We'll bring that up straight away. This is the game. Yu Yangyi, move 17, there was queen e1. We're going to go and get some more moves in a second when they come through. But I can tell you, what we have is what's called an open Sicilian position. That means it's a very double-edged dynamic position, not quite like the one we see in the other board with Wesley So, which is a bit more dry, it's a bit more slow. This one is all-out mayhem. All three results possible. I like the fact that Ray has played the Sicilian, actually. The reason is because it's showing that he's got no fear. And I think from a psychological perspective, if you do that with black straight off the bat, then that's a very good strategy. Also, remember, if you score a win with black in the first round, imagine he were to beat Yu Yangyi. Suddenly with white, you only need a draw to go through and you're in heaven. You can really play a very solid game and really increase your chances of getting through. Let's look at the position, though, and I'm going to throw to Robert very soon. We're just going to get a few more moves, I believe, in a second. But if we look at the board, it's completely wide open. Look how there are no pawns blocking the files. We've got a huge material imbalance. I believe that black has got an extra 2 pawns, but that doesn't really matter because look at this guy over here, the king in the middle. When the king is in the middle and the board is open, that is great for the side who is attacking, and it is white who is attacking. Remember, his other pieces are also at home. Look at these bishops and the rooks. You want to get your pieces out. Ray's objective is to get those guys out and get his king safe. If he does that, he's going to be technically winning. But for the moment, Yu Yangyi's got the momentum, he's got the attack, he's got the initiative. And Robert, what do you think? He's just played this move, knight to a4, hitting the queen. I personally love white's position here.
Yeah, Lawrence, I'm going to second that. I love white's position. Yu has done a great job in this opening. Yeah, he's down 2 pawns for the moment, but if we look at what those pawns are, this pawn h4 will be taken shortly. The knight on a4 is going to hop into b6, and the worst part for black is the king on e8. It has no safe square to go to. Even if you eventually castle kingside, the g file is open, your pawn,
F file is open.
The f file is open for this rook on f1, and it's very hard to even suggest a great strategy for black. Let's say queen retreats to c6, the knight comes into b6. I mean, this knight is just going to stay there for a while. If now the threat will be knight to e5, so queen c6 doesn't even look like a viable option. But you need to not leave your queen hanging, And so after knight a4, it's really time for Ray to think, and that's what he's doing.
Well, you know, Robert, this is, as Lawrence pointed out, an open Sicilian. You don't play these kind of positions unless you know your theory, your opening theory. And as we were saying before, Yangyi certainly is very well prepared coming into this event. Do you think that this is a bit of home preparation, or maybe not home preparation, but the kind of position he was hoping for today?
Oh, definitely. Like I said, if he gets a dynamic position and can get Ray down in some time trouble, he's got great chances. But it looks like Ray is very well suited for this position as well. He spent fewer minutes. He's spent only 4 to use 5. But again, his king is not very safe.
Well, statistics are given it 50-50.
Oh, of course. I'm not saying that the position is objectively better for white or objectively winning for white, but just practically speaking, it's very difficult to play in time trouble when you have a weak king, when there are lines open, the rook on f1 is going to be dangerous. I might even just snap back a pawn right now with queen takes h4. I just think practically in this game, with the pressure on, I like Yu's chances.
Yeah, this is looking very tricky for Black. Lawrence.
No, I just want to expand slightly more on this element of practical play, because I think it's a crucial part of these finals. Sometimes playing games which are not objectively the best are actually best in this current scenario. In other words, when you play practically, what it means is that you give yourself a slightly more superior scenario, superior situation, given the current climate. In other words, you've got a quick game. So if you've got a quick game, what you really want to do is make your opponent think. And if it's going to be a position where he has to defend, and he has to defend accurately, that requires time. So even though in theoretical terms some of his plays might be dubious, from a practical point of view, and this is just absolutely crucial, that it might be a very good decision. And I think Robert was absolutely right in that. I love White's position, and it's not even that bad. He's just whipped this pawn off on h4. So now he's only 1 pawn behind, which is absolutely nothing given the activity of his pieces. And I'm starting to question whether Ray's opening choice perhaps was a good one. We're soon going to see. If he goes down in flames here, he's going to start thinking, goodness, maybe I should have played something maybe not totally passive, but a bit more solid.
Well, Lawrence, with that, let's go to the action in the other game, because that game is, well, last time we looked at it, it looked like a bit of a draw, slightly better for white. What's changed here, Robert? How have we got the position up on the board?
Yeah, the position has simplified a lot between these two players. Some rooks have been traded, the light square bishops were traded a while ago, and I just think this game is going to be a simple draw in the near future. Wesley So did a great job of fending off any potential weaknesses. As we see, he made this nice idea of the rook to h5. And now the rook can swing over and attempt to trade on the a file. It just does much more than it did 1 move ago. But white as well is not in any danger. A move like pawn to g4, trading off pieces after en passant, pawn takes g3, and there's just not enough pieces on the board for either side to win. I'm pretty confident this game will be a draw in the near future.
You know what I think, Robert? Lawrence, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that Wesley has learned a lot by playing with the elite players, and he seems to have developed this extremely solid style. And here, my guess is he's going to employ the strategy: draw with black, win with white. Draw with black, win with white. What do you think, Lawrence?
Well, that's what they taught in the Soviet school, isn't it? Many years ago, if you go back to the early days of their dominance, that was the formula that brought them so much success, and it's still employed nowadays. That said, things have evolved. If you look at the world champion Magnus Carlsen, he doesn't think in those terms. It's not as simple nowadays. He just wants to...
In match play, certainly it's the strategy. In match play, that's what you do.
Well, yeah, it is a lot of the time, absolutely, and we see that trend still going on. But, you know, these guys are ambitious. I actually think that Wesley, in this particular position, is sniffing maybe a slight opportunity. I don't really like White's position at all. Yes, he's got a centralized king. Yes, he's got an active rook on a7. But there are a lot of endings that might be slightly tricky for him because of his pawns being all on the dark squares, c3, d4, f4, and so on. This pawn on c4 in some spots can be slightly weak. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that black is winning or anything like that. I'm just saying that he might be sniffing just a slight opportunity here. And look at what he did in the main tournament. He took those opportunities. He ground these guys down. Yes, a draw with black isn't a disaster for him. Of course it's not. And he will put the pressure on with white. But
you know, again, as I said before, learning from the elite. With black, they don't try and win immediately. You know, they get these Berlin kind of openings. It's like the goal with black is to firstly to equalize, and then, as you say, sniff an opportunity. What do you think, Robert?
That's definitely right. I mean, with black, it's hard to gain an advantage in the early going. But Wesley So has been making the most of his chances in this tournament, and not just in this tournament, in every game he's been playing in recent years and in recent months especially. But there's not enough life in this position for him to win. If I were Wesley, I might think about just trading some more pieces off, making the inevitable draw sooner rather than later, and getting important rest before he gets the white pieces in the second game, where of course we know he's the very, very heavy favorite.
Well, let's have a look back to the game where he's going to be playing one of them next.
if he wins.
If he wins. There we have Robson there in the background with Yangyi. How is he kept up? Last time we had a look at this, he was struggling. How is it now, Robert?
Well, I think he's still struggling. He just made this move rook to g8, which is a good square for the rook because it takes this open file and threatens to move rook to g4, putting pressure on the white queen in the center. But now he can never castle. When you move your rook, you can no longer castle, and he's moved both of them. So his king will be in the center for a long, long time.
Well, for a difficult position, wouldn't you say, Lawrence, that he's playing pretty quickly if you look at those times?
Yeah, actually, it's quite interesting. I've been going over the moves of this game, and we've just had another one, knight to e5, and they're both playing the first line of what the computer is suggesting. Now, what this suggests is that they are both still in book, as we like to call it in chess terms. Or in other words, that they've had this position on their computer screens already before the game, that they've looked at this at some point, and that's a comfort when you go into a game as sharp as this. So the fact that Ray is playing like this is actually quite promising, but also Yu is playing the first line. So it's very possible that these guys are both still in their preparation. This is just how deep the game is nowadays. Remember, openings aren't just 4 or 5 moves long. At the elite level, at this kind of level where they're super grandmasters, 20 moves, 30 moves in, they've still got these positions on the board. They use the computers extensively, and they both look relatively calm. Time situation is about the same. Ray with just about a 2-minute advantage, not too drastic just yet. We're going to see what happens, but fireworks are definitely plausible in this one.
And I might add that we have a semi-final here with very, very young players, which means they are a part of what you would call the computer generation in chess. So they grew up learning chess with a computer, playing a lot of blitz online, a lot of quick chess. So number one, they're experienced in quick chess. That's how they've gotten strong, playing lots of games online. And they're used to working with computers, so that means that their home preparation, their openings are all backed up with a lot of analysis, heavy computer analysis. Now, Robert, you're a part of this computer generation. Do you think that they might have a significant edge over older players?
Well, yes and no. In strong tactical positions where you need both the foresight, and the practicality. The use of the computer, you know what's going on. Like Lawrence said, you have the position on your computer at home. You have the experience to know that, well, I've seen this before. I remember what happened. And I know the strategies in the given position. But at the same time, sometimes you can be too reliant on the computer. And when that happens, when you get a game you're unfamiliar with, you may struggle. But I actually find the game right now very, very unclear. I think Yu is a great opportunity to complicate the position further, make a move like, oh, and he did make the move I was about to suggest, knight to g4. I think black is actually in some serious trouble, and if you look at the statistics on the screen, 78% in white's favor. I like this move, knight g4, because it further exposes the weak black king.
And the queen coming to h8 on that diagonal?
Exactly. The queen threatens that once this knight is removed from the occupied square on f6, the queen can come over to h8, with some really big threats. So I think Yu's got a great position. I'm surprised Ray's been moving so quickly considering the complexities of the position. And I agree with Lawrence, and I may have chosen a different opening against such a strong tactical player as Yu.
Lawrence, any thoughts on this highly tactical, complicated position?
Absolutely. Well, again, Yu is playing at a good speed, and he's playing the right moves according to the machine. Knight g4 is a great move. You were right, Ariane. The queen comes down round the back, caused a lot of problems on that back rank. The king is always in the center. And again, the big question for Ray is, how is he going to ever organize his pieces so that the king can ever get safe? It looks as though White's got a very, what we would like to call a long-term initiative here. Still a pawn down, but that, again, we got to get past that. That's not the important factor in this position. It's all about the initiative. It's all about the attack. And you can see Yu there. He looks very comfortable.
My guess, Lawrence, is that Ray, when he understands a bit of a dilemma that he's in, he'll start using that time advantage and it will tick down. Let's go quickly to the other game of the round. Wesley So playing very solidly with the black pieces. Probably a bit of a better opening choice with the black in comparison to Ray Robson. He's just playing h3. Is he looking for something more, like Lawrence added?
No, I think this game is going to be pretty simple draw, and we see the statistics there kind of backing that up. They actually have some pawn trades in this game. It looks like after the move h3, you went rook to a2, takes on g2, rook takes g2. Now they can trade all the pieces off. The move rook takes h2 seals the fate of the game. It's definitely going to be a draw. But look, Wesley's trying just to see if he can make something happen. Instead of taking on h2, he went rook h4 check. But realistically, nothing's happening here. And it looks like they may even draw by repetition if they just, repeat king to e4.
Looks like we're going to have a handshake on this board very soon, unless one of them deviates from 3-move repetition. Robert, let's explain to the viewers what that is.
So a 3-move repetition is when the same sequence of moves happens 3 times in a row. And it doesn't have to be right in a row. It can happen at any point in the game. The same exact position with the same person's move. That is a 3-time repetition of position and an immediate draw.
So it's when the position occurs 3 times in a row.
It doesn't have to be in a row. It could be at any point in the game. So if my king went on a journey, for example, went all the way back to b1, they came back around to d1, came up, and then came back to e4, that would still be a repetition if the same position occurred. So it doesn't have to be in a row for clarification. But I think that Wesley So in this position has nothing better than to just take the draw. And I would do it, he's going to think. He's got a lot of time, but taking the draw, get white in the second game.
Have a bit of a rest. Go grab a coffee. Lawrence, do you think that Wesley's thinking about much here more than a draw, or you think it's going to be a quick handshake very soon?
Well, I think he knows he's got the draw in hand. He's just checking other possibilities. You never know. But when we look at this position, as Robert said, it is very dry. There are few pieces. I think it is, from a general strategical point of view, a good idea, because this has basically been a pass for him. If he draws this game, no big deal, gets white next game, relaxes, does a bit more preparation. Remember, if he manages to draw now, given that the round won't start for a while, they've still got a total on the clocks of half an hour, he can pop upstairs, have a quick look at what he should do. I think him and his coach, certainly Susan Polgar, would be thinking, just get this one out the way. Let's play with the white pieces and knock this guy out. So,
Robert, if you were black, how would you play for more than a draw here? Is there a way? What's he thinking about?
To be quite frank, I wouldn't. I would just make the draw here and get the white pieces. There's really nothing that black can do that intimidates white in the slightest. He's going to have to recapture the pawn on h2 at some point soon. And once that happens, if you try to take with the bishop, well, now what? What's your next target? My pawn on g5 is safe. All my pawns are very safe over here. You cannot create a pass pawn for yourself. There's really nothing to play for. I think Wesley's just sitting there, maybe how can I make this tricky for him? But really, you can't. So it doesn't matter. Both sides are losing preparation time at the moment. They're on equal footing. They will be tied half to half. And as we see, Wesley So is making moves, but it's not changing the dynamic of the position.
That's right. Well, he didn't go for the 3-fold repetition, did he?
No, he didn't. Again, he knows that he's the draw in the bag, and that way he can do whatever move he wants and eventually make that draw if he needs to.
So he's just chilling out, watching his opponent sweat. He knows his opponent has practically offered a draw, so he's maybe just playing a few moves, bit of a psychological edge there. Let's go over to the other game quickly before we get a handshake here.
Yeah, the other game is definitely far more complex, and Ray Robson's still deep in thought. I mean, it's a very dangerous position for him. We see that he's now down over 2 minutes in the clock. He was up around 3 to 4 minutes earlier, and it just really favors you. He is playing dynamic chess. He's creating many threats. And at first glance, it looks like the pawn move e5 wins the bishop, because now the rook is threatening the bishop, and now the bishop joins in the action. But there's a big problem there. Queen to d5 threatens checkmate ideas on f7, meaning that pawn e5 just weakens black's king even further. And it's hard to suggest a move for Ray. His king will be very unsafe for the rest of the game. And I like what Lawrence pointed out earlier. It's going to be a nagging advantage, a long-term advantage.
And as we see, Ray has settled down into this dilemma, and he's used up his time advantage. He's now down in time.
Yeah, and it just proves how difficult it is to be suffering, right? Because white is the advantage, white is all the ideas, black is going to be very, very defensive. Right now, Ray's thinking, well, how do I make sure I don't lose? Not, how do I try to win? So with you, it's the complete opposite. Well, how do I make sure I'm active as possible? How do I increase my winning chances? He's not worried about losing. Despite being a pawn down, his position is far superior.
Before we go back to the other game, Lawrence, any words?
Yeah, absolutely. We can see the time ticking down there. Ray is now over 3.5 minutes down on the clock. And this is what I mentioned before about practical play. We've got a perfect position to illustrate this. Suddenly, it's up to Ray to find an accurate defense. Now, I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm just saying that over the board, that requires time. And time is exactly what he doesn't have. Worried to think for a few more minutes in this position, maybe get down to 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 6 minutes, lose about 10 minutes on the clock. You can use his own time. Remember, you isn't just not thinking here. Let's get that absolutely straight. He's not chilling out and thinking about what he's going to have for dinner. He's having a think about the position in Ray's time. And the beauty for you is that it's a lot easier to play the attack than it is to defend. So I'm really pessimistic towards Ray's chances here. He needs to find a way to liquidate, to release the tension ASAP. If he allows this nagging advantage to continue, he's going to go down.
Can black play a move like f5 here?
Yeah, black definitely can make a move like f5, but again, it further exposes his king. My queen at some point will come over to h8 with check, and this king just doesn't have many squares to hide. Yes, it's an aggressive move. It gives black some counter chances, but it's also one that permanently weakens that king. I think it may be, practically speaking, we keep talking about practical play. Practically, it may be a good chance to mix things up, make it more complex, and allow white to falter. But again, and it looks like he made that move f5, so he's really trying to get back into this game. As noted, it's hard to be passive and just play on the defense of the entire game. He needs some activity, but still, he is more active now, but now there's also this diagonal for the bishop eventually will be a threat. I just don't like Ray's position or his clock.
Lawrence, what does the machine say?
Well, I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable what's going on. I'm in shock that he played this move because, yes, it
well,
looks
he's playing
as though,
like me, Lawrence, that's why.
well, maybe he should play more like Robert instead because Ariane, f5 is a tremendous blunder in this position, believe it or not. If you sees the way to continue, it's game over. It's just that simple. We talked about the exposed king, and we talked about the attack. And sometimes you just can't make moves like that. Instinctively, it feels wrong that that black should be able to get away with this move. And do you know what you should do here with white? You should punish black. You should say, I don't care about the fact that I'm a pawn down. Hell, I don't care if I'm a piece and a pawn down. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to take this pawn off on f5. Thank you very much. Looks insane. You give up an attacking piece for the pawn. But the point is that when you now recapture the bishop with the pawn, you just bring this other rook into the attack. And suddenly, black is absolutely defenseless against the threat of queen to h8 check. There's nothing he can do. Let's say the rook were to come back to g8 to try and defend. Now he would just put the knight into d5 as well.
Can we get a shot of the players? Perhaps we can see you, Yangyi, analyzing this because, you know, it's a sacrifice. It's a significant move. I bet you he's thinking about it.
He sees it. He sees it.
He's seen it.
Just look at his eyes right now. He has seen the move bishop takes f5. He's an incredible tactician. He knows that this game right now is a critical moment. He's going to spend some time. Look at Ray Robson, head in his hands. He knows how difficult his position is. Just one heavy punch. Bishop takes f5, a tremendous sacrifice, and Ray will be knocked out of this one.
And the statistics are giving him 100%. If he plays bishop f5, I would give him 100% as well. But let's see. I mean, what other moves could be tempting for Yangyi here? Because it's such a good position for white. Pretty much, you know, if you're a strong grandmaster, you're going to try and find a bunch of possibilities. Bishop f5 does seem a bit obvious here. But what are some other options that he might be thinking of?
Well, it's important to know that you always have to consider other options. We call these candidate moves in chess. When you have one good move, you put it in your back pocket and think of other possibilities that might also be good or in fact better. But I think that he's really just contemplating this sacrifice. If you don't make the most of that sacrifice immediately, you're down heavy material, a whole piece. So he needs to make sure that he's all his lines in check, and it's a very good time to spend time. What other possibilities can you do? Well, you can always retreat the bishop, say bishop to f3. It's a nice diagonal. The bishop's still a good piece, and black's king still is stuck in the center. And Lawrence is suggesting with the rook
he's
coming,
played it. He's played
bishop f5. What a tremendous move by Yangyi. Bishop takes f5, and the game is all but over. Ray Robson, head in his hands, he knows it. Look at him, he's really upset with himself. He put a dangerous choice in the opening, and he is going down in flames.
And I'd like to point out, after bishop f5, and if black recaptures with the pawn, you're not only opening the e line for the rook there, but also the square on d5 is all for white's knight. Lawrence, is this over for the young American?
Yeah, it's just over. It's really, it's difficult to suggest any moves. Let's say he tries to take with the rook instead on f5 here. You do the same thing. You just take this guy off, pawn takes, and now you bring this rook in the center. And this deadly threat of knight d5, hitting the queen, hitting the bishop, there's just nothing you can do. If you try and escape with the king, you just play knight d5. There are simply no moves here against knight d5. Ray Robson's going down in flames, and you've got to blame his opening choice. What did we say? With black, try and play solid in the first round. Don't get too hot-headed, and he hasn't done that. And he was never going to miss bishop f5. Look at the form he's in at the moment. He's absolutely never missing that move. And
before we see a massacre of this position, let's have a look at the other game, which is a little bit, action is definitely not as much as it is in Ray's game. Has Wesley gone for further simplification? Is it still a draw? What's going on, Robert?
Yeah, it's still a definite draw. And if we look at them on the board, he's doing the same thing we just saw. He's giving a bunch of checks. The king is going back and forth, so he moved him with king to d7. And it looks like they're going to agree on a draw very shortly, because there's no point of playing on. They can make these moves all they want, but the position is so dead.
Although, Robert, you know, I gotta say, I'm impressed with Wesley's choice not to repeat moves in the threefold repetition. He played it on. He tried to sniff out an opportunity, as Lawrence would say. But, you know, it's still a draw. He didn't risk much, but I'm impressed that he went on.
Well, I'm proud of him for having fighting spirit, but at the moment I'm not as impressed as I am curious of why he would do that. He needs time to recuperate. As we saw yesterday, Zhou is an incredibly dangerous and dynamic rapid chess player. He in the real time, which on the slow game, Wesley So has a great advantage in this matchup. But as the time, we keep talking, as the time ticks down and the time gets shorter, Zhao's chances improve dramatically. So I just do not like this decision right now.
Well, but maybe for Wesley, he saw it as a no-risk opportunity to intimidate his opponent and just simply show him, well, I don't respect you that much. I'm not giving you an easy draw.
Does it look like Zhao is intimidated? He was the most stoic-looking person I've ever seen.
You can always try, you know?
He sits there so calmly. He's not afraid of anyone, and that's what makes him such a strong player. He lost to the young Jeffrey Zhang early in the tournament, but look at this. He's just making his moves, no problem.
Lawrence, why do you think he played on?
Well, I think it's a new way of playing chess, Percy. If you look, and I will use Magnus Carlsen, world champion, as the prime example of this. Magnus will play on any position, even when it's drawn, but they have shaken hands. It has ended in a draw here. I don't hate Wesley's decision, but if I were him, I wouldn't have done it. I just think that I would rather have spent the time preparing for the next game. Xiao, he's on form. Remember, he's a 2600 grandmaster. He's not a bunny, you know. He's not going to slip up in those kinds of positions.
Well, Lawrence, you were saying that this is the new wave of chess, and we got to remember that Wesley has worked with Magnus Carlsen in the past, and perhaps it's influenced his style of, fighting right to the end to try and get that point. Let's have a quick look at the other game, as we see Xiao there walking off the stage. Probably happy he got away with a draw against the top seed Wesley So.
Aaron, you wouldn't even know if he was happy. His face just doesn't change. I'm not calling him a robot, but he is just really, at the board, he's so calm. He's a great poker face.
And
but
we
Ray
see
Robson, on the other hand, does not have a great
he's
poker face.
in pain here. He sees Bishop F5.
He looks like how David Bursey looked yesterday when Ray actually beat him. And you know what? At some point, luck will catch up to you. He got a great deal of luck in the last round. He's now trying to fight this game off, but he's dead lost, as we have seen. It's just a matter of time before this knight slides into d5, the rook slides to e1, and just the underdevelopment of the black pieces. The bishop has not moved this game. The rook doesn't like to be on b8 because the king is in the center, can't castle with the rooks all over the place. It's just not looking well for the American.
And look at those times there. He started off with a time advantage, and now he's much less down on the clock. Lawrence, over to you.
Well, Ray, he got lucky to get here. We mentioned that game against Burgess, and Yangyi has just played the right move. There was one more instance, just very quickly, where he could have got lucky. We're talking about this combination of playing rook to the center and then the knight into the center. If you do it the wrong way round, and sometimes this happens in chess where you're looking at a certain pattern and you do it in the wrong move order, that would actually run into queen takes c2. And suddenly, if you bring rook to e1, whoops, you blunder a checkmate in one. But he's on form, he played rook b1, and it's game over if he doesn't lose the plot.
Definitely. Is there any way at all for black to defend here after rook e1? Robert?
Absolutely no way. Ray Robson, he's going to try. Give him some credit. He will try to make sure that there's not anything he can do, but he'll try to make a couple moves. He won't resign yet, but it's really terrible for his chances. He chose black. As I mentioned before, the Grandmasters, Ray Robson and Wesley So had the opportunity to choose which color they had first. They both chose the black pieces because they figured, well, if I can hold at least a draw in this game, I'll try to win with white. His plan is not working out. He's suffering a loss in this game, putting incredible pressure on him next game with the white pieces to beat his higher-rated opponent. Remember, you is the favorite on paper and on the board, so it's really not looking good for Ray Robson.
Lawrence, I know that this position is hugely favorable for white, but what is the main line of the computer here for black to defend?
Well, the computer just wants to give up all the pieces, which isn't really a good sign. It just means that it stops the flow, but you get into an ending where essentially there's no point carrying on. It gives the best move as bishop to e6, which I think is telling, really, because you can just take the bishop off with the rook and you don't stop any more of the threats. So if that's the best move, well, I think it speaks for itself, doesn't it? It's just totally hopeless. There's nothing he can do.
So if Yangyi wins this game, and it looks like he definitely will, he doesn't have much pressure, does he? He just needs a draw. Is that right, Robert?
That's absolutely correct. But there is still pressure there because when you're up 1-0, you still realize that you need to at least create half a point for yourself. So that in and of itself is some pressure that you can't just lose the game. But this game is all but over. It looks like you, with a simple move, queen to h8 check, and after that, it's all downhill.
Lawrence,
for Ray
you
Robson.
have some insight.
Yeah, queen h8 is good enough, but you know what? There's a really pretty little line that I've just noticed here. If white continues in the same vein as before with knight d5, hitting this queen and bishop, let's say the queen were to defend in inverted commas with queen d6. Now I like the move rook takes e7, threatening to come in via h8, and that would be curtains. If black tries to get his last piece out with bishop d7, beautiful little idea. You play queen to h8 check, the rook has to block, and now you can play this move, rook takes bishop, an intermediate move. The point is, if you recapture the rook, you now have this beautiful idea, queen f6 check, or even queen takes g8 would be winning, but queen f6 check, and you would pick up the whole lot via this little combination, and you win the rook, and it's cut. No, there are just a million ways to win this, and I don't doubt that you will mess this one up.
Well, it looks like we might very well have a Yangyi Wesley So final. Now, I'm not ruling out Jianchao as it is, but I think the way that Wesley is playing, we're going to see a final between these two youngsters. What's your bet, Robert?
Yeah, I've backed Wesley So from the beginning of the tournament. I won't stop backing him now. He's the strongest player in the event. But you know what? Yu has really impressed me. It's just that he's been playing excellent chess from start to finish. He won his first 4 games of the tournament, was the early leader. Drew his next 3 comfortably. I don't think we've seen him with even a slightly worse position this entire event. He's playing fantastic chess. He's not afraid of anybody. And look, he's snapping off pieces left and right really quickly right now. When knight takes bishop on c8, he is so quick. His mind works so fast. He sees all the possibilities pretty quickly, and the idea is if queen takes c8, now this move rook takes e7 is crushing. The rook is pinned to the king on g7, and if king takes e7, you snap up this rook, and now it's white with an extra pawn and a mating attack.
You can see Yangyi, he just slumped back in his chair. He's waiting for the handshake. He's waiting for Ray Robson there to resign, and I think that's what we're going to see very soon, isn't it, Lawrence?
Yeah, I don't doubt that Ray's going to lose this game. Yu, he looks confident, he looks sharp. He's played a perfect game, actually, and we have to congratulate him on that. I think it's a bit early to say that Wesley's definitely going to go through. I know you're a big fan, Ariane, as am I, but he's still got work to do. Zhao's shown how solid he can be. I've got a feeling that maybe Xiao might even hold this 25-minute game. It would be great to see them go to the 15 minutes, and hell, I would love to see it get down to blitz, because then that would get really exciting. We've had a move in the meantime. Ray has decided to take this pawn off on c2, but it's all in vain, because now all you need to do, there's a number of moves.
You just need to stop the checkmate idea. This is a time where if you had no time on the clock, maybe he'd blunder checkmate on queen takes g2 check. So for example, a move like rook takes e7 looks great because it wins a bishop, but you fall right into Ray's trap of queen g2. It's just desperation attempt.
There's a great little line similar to what we saw before, actually. White wins on the spot here after queen c2. You can just play queen h8 check, the rook has to come back, and now you've got this beautiful idea of rook takes f5. I beg your pardon, let's get that on the board again. Check here, rook comes back, and rook takes f5. Beautiful idea. The point is that if the queen takes the rook, looks like you've blundered a rook, but no. Now you play queen takes rook on g8 check. Excellent idea. This would be good for one of our puzzles in the break. King takes rook, and now knight takes e7 with check. You win the queen. Just a hopeless ending. Ray, of course, would resign way before this. So, question is, after queen takes c2, will he see that finish? There are probably various others as well. It's game over.
I want to get a picture of the board here because I believe a handshake is forthcoming in just maybe 1-2 minutes as Yangyi uses his last few minutes to find a brilliancy. I think there are brilliancies everywhere here, aren't there, Robert?
Yeah, there's so many tactics. Lawrence has showed great opportunities for these forks with the knight, and now totally in the opponent's camp on c8. It's just Ray Robson is just sitting here. You know, he must be feeling very upset right now. He looks a little better than he did a couple moves ago when he had his head in his hands, because now he knows all hope is lost. But this is a hard loss to bounce back from. It is 100% over. Not Wesley So, Yangyi is going to win this game, and Ray Robson has to figure out a way to bounce back. And I think it's just comforting him to just play a few more moves, get this loss out of his head, and then move on to the next game.
Here we go. We have a move from the young Chinese grandmaster. Queen h8, rook g8. Maybe he's going for your line, Lawrence.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, because now he's having a think in this position. So what is he thinking about? It's not a difficult tactic. It really isn't. It's a 2-move combination. He's going to spend a few minutes.
I think we're going to see rook f5 on the board very soon.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think what's interesting now is we don't have to look at this game too much. It's going to end shortly. But what do you think in terms of an opening, Robert, that Ray, you know him better than I do. You know his repertoire better than I do. What do you think he should be doing? Should he be just trying ultimate risk in the next game, or should he try something where he, maintains some kind of nibble and manages to work on it and hopefully win that way?
Well, Ray Robson has great opening knowledge, but he also likes to play some offbeat lines. And what I mean by that is there's extensive opening theory in pretty much every opening, and he likes to avoid that sometimes, confuse his opponent. I think that may be the best strategy against you, because he is playing exceptional chess. He knows a lot of theory. He's a grandmaster now within the top, I think, 40 players in the world. So I think Ray Robson needs to mix it up. He'll consult his coach, Susan Polgar. As we know, she's the coach at Webster where he attends, and he didn't take the pawn on f5, but he made a move that looks equally good, just not as quickly decisive. Queen h3, rook takes c8, and looks like rook takes f5 check. But he's giving Ray chances just simply by not ending the game so quickly. It raised a little bit more hope, but this is terrible. I think that the game is still completely out of reach for Ray Robson.
Although I find that a little bit strange. I mean, rook f5, Lawrence's idea is extremely simple, especially he was thinking in that position for over a minute. Laws.
I can't believe it, actually. It still looks very difficult to defend for black, but I tell you what, it's a lot easier than it was. After all, if we look at the current position on the board, we'll get this up. He played queen to h3, I believe. Oh, we'll get that up in a moment, but it was a knockout blow in 2 moves. So I am shocked. Maybe it's a sign of nerves. Of course, he's not perfect. Nobody is, let's face it. This is the position on the board now. Yes, he's still got a very dangerous attack, but it doesn't feel, well, maybe it's game over anyway. But
I actually don't think it's game over anymore. I think Ray might have escaped a bit here.
Oh my goodness, I'm in shock.
Because his king can now, he went king to c7. In this position, it looks like the bishop on e7 is just free. But after king to b8, the black king miraculously is relatively safe.
Miracle.
And now it's the white king in danger of back rank checkmate ideas. The move like queen to c1. The pawn on g2 is under attack. I think that you has misstepped.
This is incredible. And look at those statistics. They've just changed. 80% chance for black to win.
That's unbelievable.
This is unbelievable for such an experienced, talented, strong grandmaster like Yangyi just to miss that easy blow and liquidate into something that looks like he's slightly worse.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. He's such a great tactician. He found bishop takes f5, which was the winning blow, and he just, I don't even know how to explain that, and he's in deep trouble now just because of the way the game is gone.
Well, look at him. He's sitting up now. He's no longer slouched in his chair waiting for the handshake. He's sitting up thinking,
wow,
how did I just do this?
And look at the statistics, 99% in Ray Robson. What a turn of events. The tide has turned. Look at you. He's very calm normally, but he looks very upset, and Ray Robson, unbelievable the luck that he has had in this event.
Unbelievable. He's doing what he did yesterday.
It is absolutely, is unbelievable. He was dead lost yesterday, completely losing, and he made his opponent cry. That's what kind of mean guy he is, and now you is gonna cry. He is making you cry at the board. I would be crying inside right now. I'm crying for you. Look how upset he is.
Look at you there. He can't believe the opportunity he has just missed, and he might have missed out on that first prize. Lawrence.
Well, there's still another game, but I tell you what, I don't know how he's going to be able to get himself together for it, because when you've got a position as winning as that was, a 2-move combination to win the game, to then have to play another game, his state of mind, I'm actually speechless. I can't believe he didn't play rook takes f5, and now he's looking at the board, he's realizing, oh no, what have I done? And I tell you what, I'm happy that I didn't put all my money on that position. I tell you what, a lot of other people would, because I'd be broke, sitting on the street with a cup in my hand and hoping that somebody would give me $1 so I could eat, because I would have put every single thing I had on
Look at him there, shaking his head there
at the board. Oh my
goodness,
I think it's gone. I think it's actually just gone.
It's crazy. You know what? This just shows how dynamic chess can be with those time controls and with such high stakes.
He's shaking his head. Look at him. The Chinese players generally are very conservative. They're very stoked. We saw Zhou before. Look at him. He's shaking his head. He looks like he's about to cry. I'm about to cry for him. It's just all but over. The move queen to b1 check here, forcing white to retreat on e1 with the rook to stop checkmate and simply start gobbling up pawns. Now the pawn on g2 is under attack again. Rook e2 is impossible because now this rook slides in with the check, the back rank threat being supreme, and after rook e1, queen takes g2 would be checkmate. So it looks all but over for you. I cannot believe it.
It's over.
I'm in shock.
I cannot believe it.
Is that the position on the board? No, it's not. It's not.
It's not
Okay.
the position on the board, but
we see the position on the board. He went queen to b1 check, and he followed it up with rook to e1. This is the exact position that's on the board, and he's lost.
This is
White
unbelievable.
is lost.
You know, this just shows that if you fight to the end, you never know what's going to happen. And this is crazy. No one would have predicted this one. We were signing his death warrant just a few minutes ago, and here we are. We're going to congratulate Ray Robson very soon.
It's hard, it's ridiculous. As a chess player, it's hard to fathom what just happened. And yes, we do have to congratulate him for fighting on, but incredible that he is not playing good chess.
He's not. Look at yesterday.
And he is a fantastic player. Don't get me wrong. When I'm criticizing here, it's a compliment to him how good he can be at his peak. But right now, he's playing awful chess. He doesn't even belong at the board with you the way he's playing right now. But somehow, one mistake, the evil of chess, and you is going down in flames. And I'm simply awestruck right now.
Luck is huge here in Las Vegas. It's all about luck, Lawrence.
Yeah, it's all about luck, but you know, chess, we say that luck is a very small percentage of the complexity of the game, or the complexion, I should say, of the game. You make your own luck in chess. Sometimes you keep the practical chances alive, but in this particular case, it really is about as pure luck as you can get, because you had a number of ways to convert, and Ray's got lucky in the sense that maybe he's nervous, maybe he's a bit tired. We haven't seen this side of you. Ray's only got 1 minute 18 though. It's not over till it's over. It's not over till the fat lady sings. Let's not forget that. And remember, we saw how Yu has just bottled just a winning position. There's no other word for it. Is Ray going to do the same with just 1 minute left on his clock? I can't wait.
Why? I mean, this position is easy to play with black. This is extremely easy if you're a strong grandmaster. Why is he under a minute here? He's just used all his time. Clearly, he knows he got out of absolute disaster, and now he's just using up all his time.
Well, there is a line, isn't there? You've got to be a bit careful. Let's just have a look.
A bit careful, Lawrence, really?
Yeah.
You're even on time, and then you use 2 minutes to think about 1-2 moves?
Yeah, well, I'll show you why, Ariane. There's a hidden little tactic in the position after Queen E4. You can't count these guys out. You can't relax for 1 second. In this position, if you were to be careless, for example, and move this bishop away from E7, I don't know, to C5, that runs into Rook B1 check. And suddenly, if the king comes back to A7, you've got to watch out for this nasty shot. Rook takes B7 check. It's an absolutely brilliant shot. And again, the tables would be turned. It would be incredible. The king has to take on B7, and now you've just got this move, Rook to D2, discover check, but you pick up the queen. There's no checkmate on the back rank. So that's why Ray took a bit of time.
Well, I'm worried about his clock now. Can we get a shot of that? Wow. Okay, so Yangyi is starting to think, but with what he just messed up, I think he's in big psychological trouble. But maybe, you know, he's going to play on the fact that Ray can't believe his luck, and he's just thinking too much. I don't know what's going on here.
Well, Ariane, I mean, you're right to say that he shouldn't get down too low on time, but 57 seconds is more than enough for a strong grandmaster like Robson. They have a little bit of a delay on the clock, so he gets to keep his time as long as he makes a move within 5 seconds. He has to make sure that he doesn't blunder. He knows that he's been the recipient of several blunders this tournament, so he just made sure he took his time, make sure that he got everything under control. But I really just want to take Ray Robson with me to the blackjack table. I don't even know if he's 21 yet, but I want to take him with me there. I won't even look at my hand. I will tell him just bet, because he has the luck that he has is absolutely unfathomable.
Lucky Ray
no,
Robson.
he is. You know, the Sugar Ray. This is Lucky Ray. This is unreal.
Well, Sugar Ray Robson, how's he going, Lawrence? I mean, he's catching up on time here. They're both going to be having a minute.
Go down to the wire on the time. I know that for a fact. But Ray made a great move. This move, Queen C2, it attacks the queen. So all of these ideas with this Rook to B1 and down to B7, they don't really work. It's the best move in the position.
And Yangyi is now down on time.
Now he's down on time. He's got 50 seconds left. He's got to make a move. He's got to try something. You know, it might not be the best move. Make it tricky. Make Ray think at least for a bit.
You know what I think Yangyi is doing? He's just sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, I cannot believe I just blew this."
No, he absolutely is saying that. He should. It's heartbreaking.
He's going to lose it.
He's going to have black in the second game, and don't count him out yet. You know, I'm saying that white has the big advantage, but look, in this game, black is winning.
Don't count him out yet. 25 seconds.
No. In this game, of course, I'm counting him out. He's got no chance. He's going for tactics.
Wow, he's done it. He's done this Rook B1, Rook B7.
But it doesn't work in this line,
No.
because after king takes B7, this queen is under attack. So, well, actually, you might have to be careful because of Rook B5.
King takes B7 is a mistake.
Right, he didn't play it. Rook takes B5 check, and it's double check, and as you see, the pieces are really attacking the king. So instead of king takes B7, which looks like the natural response, king A8 decides matters. It's crazy that there's so many pieces on
And that's exactly what has happened on the board. As you can see there, Rook B7, king A8 has just happened. Yangyi has 13 seconds to think how he's going to continue.
He's got 10 seconds.
Yeah, and there's a quick trick here. Is Rook A7 check looks good. King takes A7. Rook D7
This
check.
is over.
And if Rook C7, you now can take the queen because it's not protected. But he's not going to fall for this. He's 3 seconds left. It's really all but over. And he didn't make that move. This is just
That's
game
the move.
over.
That's game over. Queen takes G2 and forced checkmate. He's going to put out his... That's it.
It's
game
over for the Chinese Grandmaster.
Unbelievable.
Man, look at him, the head shake.
Unbelievable.
He is distraught. I really can't believe this. Ray Robson, I don't know what he's thinking right now, but he should go do something that is risky because he will survive. He cannot be defeated. This guy can go cliff jumping, he can go parachuting without a parachute, and he will still survive because nothing can take him down right now.
Sugar Ray Robson, there he is.
No, this is not Sugar Ray Robson. This is Lucky Ray Robson. I'm going to go play craps and win every single dollar this casino has to offer because he cannot lose right now.
Yeah, look at him there talking to his coaches. He must be ecstatic. I mean, the guy can survive anything. He's just lucky to be here. He's lucky yesterday. He's lucky today. Is he going to be lucky in the next round?
Well, if you're his coaches right now, you say forget about that game. Don't think about it. Don't compliment him on the game because it'd be a false comment. Look at them. They're realizing, look, we're just going to tell them, forget about it. You played a bad game. You were getting crushed, but just go play better chess. That's the key. Make improvements. You cannot play like this against elite grandmasters, and it shows. And look how serious they are right now. That is great coaching. Saying you have to get your mindset, you have to get in the game, forget about that last one, look at the pad on his shoulder. He looks upset, and that's a sign of a good chess player.
Because he knows he didn't deserve it. He didn't play well. And unlike yesterday where he created problems for his opponent, here he was, as Lauren said, this was pure luck. He played so badly, he did not deserve to even have a draw. And here he is going with a full win into the next round of the semifinal.
Well, maybe not into the next round. He's got another game to play, let's face it. He's still the underdog on paper against you. He's going to have to really hold his nerve, but my goodness. Two wins, and it means that if we look at the results here, a draw
So
between
here we
Jianchao.
go with the results. We have a draw in the top match. Well, the top-rated player, Wesley So versus Zhou. They had a draw in a relatively quiet game. I would say that Wesley is quite happy with that, with the black pieces. And of course, we have the spectacular Lucky Ray Robson winning with the black pieces in an open Sicilian that he certainly did not deserve to win. Robert, what are your thoughts?
I really can't speak right now. I'm so this game was unbelievable. I don't understand how you can play so poorly and get a victory against such a strong player, the Olympic gold medalist in you. And it's really a testament to Robson's fighting power. He doesn't give up. He's dead in the water. He's like a fish flailing around on land. It was totally crushed. But yet Ray Robson is still in the mix. He's winning his match right now, but don't count you out. In the other match, we have Xiao and So. I actually don't mind Zhao's chances. I think that he's the low-rated player. He's going to have the black pieces, but he's got fight in him, and I think that he may just be able to not lose the next one and keep the fight going.
Okay, well, here in Vegas, luck is huge, and Lucky Ray Robson is into Game 2 of the semifinals, and here are the matchups for Game 2, which is coming up very shortly. Don't go away. We're going to get that up on screen. Luck plays a huge role, as you can see, but so does skill. And here is round 2. Wesley So is white versus Jianchao. I think he's going to go for it with white. And of course, we have Ray Robson, Lucky Ray Robson, with the white pieces. Maybe he can throw a bit of skill into this Game 2 of the semifinals. We will be back at 12:25. I'm Ariane Quilly. This is Grandmaster Robert Hess. Don't go away. This is exciting. See you in a few minutes. Welcome back to Game 2 of the semifinal, live here from the ballroom of Planet Hollywood, Las Vegas. This is the Millionaire Chess Open, and this, ladies and gentlemen, what you are looking at right there on the screen is what 550 players over 4 days have resulted into. This is Millionaire Monday. We are back with Grandmaster Robert Hess and International Master Lawrence Trent. Let's look at the results of the first game of the semifinal, which was a total cliffhanger. We had Ray Robson in the coffin. We were signing his death warrant already. And then he just was lucky, got out of that mess, and won his game against Yangyi. As we can see, Ray Robson won his point. He is now facing, Yangyi again with the white pieces. And Wesley So and Jianchao had a relatively peaceful draw. round 2 matchups, we have Wesley So with the white pieces, definitely going to press here against Jianchao from China. And Robson, lucky Sugar Ray Robson with the white pieces against Yangyi. All he needs is a draw. This is the pairings for round 2 of the semifinal. They are getting ready for their game, but before they start, let's have a bit of a discussion on what can happen. Because Ray winning that game just threw all of our predictions way out of the water. Basically, there are 3 main situations here, guys. If Ray wins, he's into the final. It's over for Yangyi. His tournament stops right there, and all he's got there is a consolation match for the 3rd or 4th place. The other situation, let's say Ray loses. That means that they have to go into a tiebreak with 15-minute games, and that's going to be a real cliffhanger. Now let's talk about the other match. So wins, Zhou wins, they're through to the final. But if that's a draw, that's going to be a tiebreak as well. Let's go and have a listen to what it sounds like in the ballroom. Must be so intense. Alexandra.
Thanks, Ariane. We're 2 minutes away to talk about what just happened before the break.
Mind-blowing, incredible game. Ray looked like he was dead in the water, and then all of a sudden the comeback. You know, when I thought about Millionaire Monday, I thought made for TV. That's what we want. We want action, we want drama, we want back and forth craziness, and that's what we got in the very first round. So I'm like thrilled. It's
Did
like
you see it coming? Because we were all just saying it's over. I guess
it was over. The guy was dead in the water. They had the dirt in the coffin. He was in the coffin. The dirt was there, and like it just came out of nowhere, man. It came up. Lazarus rising from the dead, and now it's just thrilling and seeing that the guy has to win now.
so. We don't know what to expect next. High five for a thrilling beginning.
More
Go back to you guys.
Thanks, Maurice and Alexandra. Robert, what are your thoughts on what can happen here on Millionaire Monday?
Well, it's pretty simple. If Ray Robson doesn't lose, he's through. And in the other game, if there's a victor, that person goes on to the final. Otherwise, they go into a tiebreak playoff. So it's pretty straightforward. I think that Wesley So has great chances to go forward. He's the white piece against Zhou, but don't count him out. He's a fighter. He won the tiebreak to even qualify for today. So he's got his chances are good. He's a very calm individual, so don't expect him to be nervous. And on the other board, Yu has chances, but you know, he's now the underdog.
Well, Robert, you know, if Wesley So wins as the tournament favorite and Ray Robson wins as well or makes a draw, then we're going to have a final versus, you could say, the dark horse and the top seed. Lawrence, what are your thoughts?
Well, he certainly wasn't the favourite to go through Ray Robson, but you call him Sugar Ray. I'm going to call him Ray Nine Lives. I think that's got quite a nice ring to it because He's literally had about 9 of them this tournament. He's been losing so many games and has managed not only just to draw those games, but to win them. And to score that win with black in the first round is just so huge. Only needs a draw. I think the big question is how tough, how mentally tough is Yu? Is he going to be able to fight back with the black pieces so soon after blowing what it was a completely winning position? I believe they're just going to kick off right now. We're going to get straight into the action.
It's all about nerves here, especially with this very short time control. You got to be psychologically fit. You got to have nerves of steel. And Yangyi, he's just suffered a huge psychological blow here. Now we're going to update our board here with Robert, and we're going to follow the games. As you can see on screen, they have started Game 2 of the semifinal here at the Millionaire Chess Open. This game is going to decide who goes into the final and who goes into what we call the consolation match, which isn't that bad because you're still securing quite a bit of money, making it to Millionaire Monday. We can see a Sicilian here, Ray Robson versus Yangyi, another Sicilian, Paulson. What do you think about this, Robert?
Well, it's a good opening choice by black. Gives you great fighting chances to win the game. But Ray Robson is very well known for his opening theory, so I don't think he should be too worried either. I think that Yu has to really take his chances and make the most of it, but it's not going to be an easy match to deal with.
Well, I play this myself with black, and this is always extremely dynamic, interesting kind of positions because, again, as we've mentioned in previous broadcasts, if white overpresses in the center, black really has that strong Sicilian counterplay and can get the initiative rather quickly. Lawrence?
Yeah, I've played many of these positions as well, mostly from the white side, but I can tell you from experience that black's opening choice is a good one because it does give you chances long term. And remember, Yu has to win. So he's done well so far. I like the fact that he's played a Sicilian. Ray's playing very quickly, as is Yu. I think they're still both in their preparation, in book, as it's also known. And they're bashing out the moves, not spending any time at all. 24 minutes on the clock each, no difference there. So that one's going to be great to look at in a moment. Perhaps we can switch over to Wesley So's game.
Yes, Lawrence, take us through that game.
Well, Wesley's got white, and although the drama of the first game was clearly with Robson and Yu, this one could well heat up. We've got a position on the board after a few moves. We've got a very, again, it's a very solid kind of opening. I think we've got a great contrast in styles, actually, between the two boards. Yu and Robson literally at each other's throats early on, whereas So and Xiao a bit more calm. They're looking to outmaneuver each other, outplay each other. We've got a position there on the board. It's come from what's called a Queen's Gambit declined. Very, very solid opening choice by Zhou. But it's one that gives white just a nice little nibble, we should say, a bit more space, a bit more central control. Robert, I know you're very well versed in these kinds of positions. What do you think so far?
Yeah, I definitely like Wesley So's opening choice. He's got a nice spatial advantage. The bishop on f4 is better than the bishop on e7, and the bishop on c8 is kind of locked in for now. So white plans to gain space, recapture the pawn on c4 in the near future, and if he captures that pawn back and uses the rook on c1, we see that the pawn on c7 is also weak. Black is going to struggle, and the only opportunity for black to get active play is to start with this move c5. And c5 might be the best move right now, but it's not easy because white just continues to push forward, and black really has to be okay and be calm. And Zhou, we know, is a very stoic, calm player. Otherwise, he could go down in flames.
Well, I'd like to point out Wesley's use of time here, not even 10 seconds. Wesley is right in opening preparation here. I am pretty confident of that. And this is something he plays quite regularly. Again, just playing solidly with white, getting an incremental advantage that he will slowly push through. Again, I think a sign of maturity. What do you think, Lawrence?
Well, yeah, I mean, we've seen that over the tournament he can play just about any position. And just to repeat, it's very important. He's now in the top 10 in the world. As a result of his great performance here, he's entered that super elite. And you don't get there by just being able to play one kind of game of chess, for example, like I can. You know, me trying to grind out these wins, I don't do it in the same fashion. I'm not of that strength. But Wesley, as is everybody else, they feel at home in any position. So it's not a surprise to see him play like this. He's clearly matured immensely over the past few years. But we're still in the opening phase. Let's not get too excited here. The edge is minimal. A lot more has to develop before anything critical or clearly winning or clearly losing, I should say, is on the board.
Well, thank you, Lawrence, for your thoughts. Certainly, these kind of positions is right in Wesley's hand, and I would say that he's quite happy with this opening preparation. Let's have a look at the other game, Robert.
Yeah, a lot has developed in this other game here. The queens have been traded off, and we have a case of opposite color bishops. We've seen this many times throughout the event. In the case of an ending, opposite colored bishops can often lead to a simple draw. But here the position is dynamic. Look at white's pawns, c3, c2 double pawns. That doesn't help white in any endgame. But the knight on a5 is actually a very active piece. It's kind of a nuisance. It can come in through b7 and then maybe to d6 or to c5. The knight on e4 is a little bit risky. It doesn't have any moves right now, so if white can launch an attack on it, it's trapped. So I like white's position despite the weak pawn structure on the queen side.
And Yangyi doesn't look like he likes it at all because, as we know, he has to win this game. Draw is no good for him.
Yeah, he has to win, but I really don't like what's happened so far. Ray Robson's made some good choices. I think the move king e2 is I don't know, you want the king in the center in the endgames generally, but if black can open up some lines for the rook, the king in the center could get in some trouble. But for now, I like Ray Robson's chances to hold the draw.
Definitely, I think that Ray Robson here knows exactly what he's doing. Lawrence?
Well, he does until the last move. I'm not a fan of this move whatsoever. The king can sometimes get caught out in the center here. Instead, I would have preferred just the simple move to castle to the long side and then bring this rook in. And ideally, I think a very simple plan would be to try and swap these knights off. If you can do that, knight to b7 or to d6, knight b7 to c5. Once the knights come off, the chances of black ever winning this are really remote. But now with the king in the center, the problem is, and I think black has to react immediately if he's going to generate any winning chances, is he has to play a move like f6. I don't know if it's in this position or the move after, maybe he castles first. But if he gets in f6 and manages just to create a few open lines, suddenly this king can feel a bit airy in the middle, maybe come under attack, and I think Yu has to take that opportunity, either this move or the next one.
Well, as we've noticed yesterday, when you are in a just draw situation, in other words, you won the first one and all you need is draw to get through, what we see is it's sometimes hard to play psychologically. It's harder to play for a draw than a win, and perhaps Ray Robson there, well, I wouldn't say he's more experienced than his opponent at all. So, they're both very young, both very talented players. Psychologically here, I still think it's much tougher for the Chinese because he's got to win.
Yeah, he has to win, and both players, you said, have great experience despite their young age. And Ray Robson is a fierce competitor. He's been in this type of situation before, and he is up a full point in the match. So he's got nothing to worry about except for the position on the board. Yu, on the other hand, can't just worry about the board. He needs to worry that he needs to win. So he needs to take risks. He needs to be active. He can't be complacent at all in his position. Every single move needs to have a shot at winning the game. Pieces can't be traded. And I'm not sure about Ray Robson's strategy. I think that while, like you said, playing for a draw is dangerous, and he's not playing for two results here. Both sides have chances, and I think Yu is off to a good start.
Lawrence, have you got any thoughts on this? Because I hear that Yangyi just got up and went to the bathroom. Is that a sign of absolute confidence or just like this is over?
Well, it can't be absolute confidence after what just happened to him. It's impossible that he's dreaming of a white Christmas, so to speak. He's clearly very, very unhappy with losing the first, having a winning position. But then again, I do feel like he's not the most emotionally affected player. I think other players would suffer a lot more than him. The Chinese have got this fantastic mentality that is drilled into them, that they really do just get on with the job. So if I would pick anybody to suffer that loss, actually, it would be Yu. I think he's mentally tough. And the position, he should be happy with it. He might have gone to the toilet. That's just sometimes you need to go to the toilet.
Come on, this is a rapid game. This is your last chance to fight for the big prize.
Right.
You only got 20 minutes and you go to the bathroom?
Well, if you need to go, you need to go. There's no two ways about it. The last thing you need is to get down to 5 minutes, then really need to go, and then lose on time. That would be a disaster. So
The clock's ticking here.
All right,
Just hold it.
The guy's got to go,
The
like
guy's
Lauren
gotta
said.
go.
Sometimes you got to go to the bathroom, and he'll be back soon.
He'll be back.
We miss him, but he'll be back soon.
If he doesn't
Well,
appear,
we're watching him here. We're counting down the seconds.
Here he is.
His step looks lighter. He looks like he's relieved. He's ready to go play some chess. So, we'll see you come back. He'll get to the board.
But he's not even running. Look at that.
He is concentrated. He doesn't need to run. You got to walk before you can run. He lost the first game.
I reckon he's just like, I lost the first game. I don't have many.
Look at him. He's got some swagger to him. He got an autograph. Hey, it's our friend Jonathan. So Jonathan getting in the way of you. He's not going to be stopped right now. Look at him. He's determined.
Well, if it was in another tournament, I would say, oh, maybe the player's cheating there with his mobile phone. But as we saw that shot of the room there towards the bathroom, we have tight security here at the Millionaire Chess Open. No cheating possible because we guarantee that all the players, we want to make the safest, most comfortable environment for them. Yangyi there, he's looking a bit more happy.
Yeah, Ariane, look at this. Not only did he come back from the bathroom, he's relieved, but look at the time.
It cost him 2.5 minutes.
No, it didn't. That's White's clock. Ray Robson's clock. Is that
He
Ray?
was 21 something.
Oh, you're right.
when
It is his clock. It looks like it's Ray's clock. Ray made
It's
the move
still ticking.
8-4.
So
It's still ticking.
good 2-3 minutes. Was it worth it?
It is absolutely worth it. Come on. We're not talking about human biology here. Let's get back to the chess for a second.
Well-
He's relieved. He'll play better chess now that he's used the toilet.
nothing worse than when you're busting. I can tell you from experience. And no, you got to do it. And it's only 2 minutes. Let's not exaggerate. He wasn't gone for 15 minutes. It was 2 minutes. He's back in his seat. And you know what? It's not like he went there And he was, he was on the John and not thinking about things. These grandmasters think about positions when they're walking around, when they go to the bathroom, when they're having it doesn't matter. They can think about these games. So he hasn't actually lost time. He might even be in a better state now. So we'll see what happens on the board.
That's right, Lawrence. He just played rook g8. What's the idea here, Robert? To play g5, yeah?
Yeah, definitely is go g5, open some lines for the rook. Black doesn't have that much going for him at the moment, but if he can open the lines for the rook, create some counter chances, then maybe we can start talking about him playing for a win. But first, he needs to equalize. He needs to make sure all his pieces are safe, that his king is safe. He castle queenside, and then finally, once all that's settled, he can open lines for his rooks.
Lawrence, over to you.
I actually like Black's position. White's got a huge problem here, and it's this little horsey on the side of the board. What we say, knight's on the rim of dim. How is that guy ever getting back into the game? I can't even see a clear path for it. If White tries to take this pawn on b5, let's say rook hg8, which was played, he takes his pawn on b5. Black could even considering taking with the pawn. The knight still couldn't move. He might even consider taking with the bishop. I would probably take back with the bishop myself, just to open the d line and give myself a square on d5 for the rook. But I think to get this position so far with Black has done a really good job.
Well, Lawrence, let's see what happens there. You might push this through to a win. Who knows? Let's go to the other game while he thinks a little bit there. We have Wesley So, our very top seed, the young Filipino grandmaster studying in St. Louis, against Chinese grandmaster Zhou Jianchao, certainly a player who has to be feeling pretty happy with himself getting this far. And now he has Black against Wesley So, who I think is pretty comfortable with the turnout of events here and his opening choice. Just look at the times.
Yeah, Wesley So is a very quick player, and we've said this from the beginning. He's very quick. He knows his openings. He's a very, very talented individual. But Xiao is putting up stubborn defense. If you look at the position at hand, well, both sides have the same material. Both sides are active in their own ways. But the bishop on h4 is kind of annoying right now, pinning the knight to the queen on d8. But Zhou made this really ambitious move, pawn to g5. And if you think about it, it weakens the king because now there's some air between the king and his pawns. White is forced to retreat with the bishop to g3, and now Zhou's options. Well,
although the thing is, Robert, if Black didn't play g5, then there would be this constant problem with the knight on f6. If we could take that back a move, if he doesn't play g5, I mean, Black can't really continue. I think g5 is a logical continuation, just trying to simplify the position a little bit.
Yeah, g5 is a great move. It stops that pin on the knight on f6, and it opens the position up more. But Zhou also has to be careful. He doesn't want to get too ambitious, because if he does that, his king will become very weak. It looks like they've engaged in some trades. They've traded a bunch of pieces. The bishop on g3, intermediate move, knight takes f6, because if you capture back, you lose a piece. So instead, he went knight takes f6, queen takes f6, pawn takes g3. But if we look at the position, a lot of trades can happen now. I could consider taking the knight on f3. I wouldn't do that because I like the bishop in the long diagonal. It's unopposed for the moment. You can consider the move knight to e5, trading the knights. I think Zhao is playing very good chess, and I don't think he's going to lose this game.
Well, you know, I think that we were just a few moves out of the opening, and yet there is quite a significant time difference. Lawrence, what do you make of this?
Well, clearly, yeah, 5 minutes is significant, but it's not totally drastic just yet. I agree with Robert. I think the moves that Zhao have played really do speak for themselves. He's got out of the pin. He's got an absolutely fine position here. And despite what the percentages say on your screen, I mean, 59% for Black to win. I wouldn't agree with that at all. White is still maybe a tiny bit better. But Zhao's fine, and I could see this one halving out again and them going to the next round of tie breaks. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Well, Lawrence, if it does go to the tie breaks, I want to remind viewers that the times will be even shorter, with 15 minutes for each player, which means, I mean, I think that this will be advantageous for Zhou Jianchao because he is, on paper, the weaker player, and shorter time controls, you know, the stronger player has to take some risks. There's less time to think about it, and the weaker, so-called weaker player has more chances.
Yeah, Aaron, I'm going to respectfully disagree with that, though. Just because of the clocks in this match, we see that Wesley So is just playing much quicker. I think it gives him an advantage in shorter time control.
Right, but At the same time, it does give a chance for more complications there. Now, on the screen, we have the semifinals, the structure of this. So basically, if So and Zhou draw, they will be going into the first tiebreak round with 2 15-minute matches. And if that's another draw, they're going to go into 5 minutes. And, you know, it's blitz, and in chess, anything can happen in 5 minutes. You know, Robert, I could even beat you in a 5-minute game.
Well, I don't know about that, Ariane. After our blitz match last night, I'm not so confident in your ability to beat me. But
All right, I can beat Lawrence, though.
That's definitely true.
We're in Vegas. Ariane, hey, if you want to put a little wager on it, you know I'm a gambling man. I'll happily accept the challenge.
That's right. Well, if one of them win, though, by some miracle, Wesley So or Jianchao, then they're right through to the final without any tiebreak. Now let's go back to Lucky Ray Robson, or Sugar Ray Robson. I don't know which name's better, because he's a sweet guy. Let's look at this. He's thinking there. It seems, well, as you were saying, Lawrence, Black has a very clear plan. You know, Black, it's a bit more comfortable to play. There's a knight on a5, White's knight on a5. Can't do much, and unfortunately, we can't get rid of this kind of blockade of the pawns on b5 and c4 because we have opposite colored square bishops. Robert, what would you do if you were White?
Well, this is a very important decision. Ray just took the pawn on b5, and now you have two options. One, A takes b5, or take with the bishop. You just took with the bishop. I would be worried for him if A takes b5, that there might be some chances with perpetual check with the rook just coming down this file and giving endless checks. So he's probably a bit concerned about a potential sacrifice and thus played the move bishop takes b5. But now his pawn structure is compromised. The bishop is nice there because it protects both the a6 and the c4 pawns, and the knight is still trapped on a5. So it's very complicated. I think that objectively speaking, White is slightly better. Not 70% favorite, but definitely a little bit better. And I think that Black also has good chances to keep fighting.
I think Ray's got to be lucky with the outcome of this. Lawrence?
Well, I mean, yeah, White must be a bit better here, and Yu has taken drastic measures in the position. Ray attacked the knight in the center with this king to f3, and Yu played this f5 move, supporting the knight. And now after pawn takes pawn, you have to take back with the knight. So again, we get a complete radical change in the pawn structure. Black's been left with this weak pawn on e6. But at the same time, he has open lines. And again, look at that king on f3. Can come under potential threats, potential attacks in the future. This is the way Yu has to play with a win with Black. I don't mind his decision at all, even if objectively his position is slightly inferior.
But then there's the risk of risking too much.
Well, there's nothing, you can't risk too much, can you? You've got to win. So there's no, you have to do something dynamic. You can't just play an opposite color bishop position.
Right.
So there is no risking too much. It's all in or all out. That's the scenario for you. So his choice, although in a real game he might not have made it, for example, if he were playing the normal Swiss tournament, it's a knockout. He has to win, he has to risk it.
Who here has more experience in these kind of knockouts? Do you guys know how they did in the World Cup?
I know Ray Robson's had some upsets in the World Cup in the past, and you as well. I remember him beating more experienced grandmasters in the past. So both of them have some experience here, but I don't think that actually matters when it comes down to this specific turn. There's much more pressure here. So much money on the line, the chance to play for first place, get into the final. And if we do look at the clocks for a second, Yu is comfortable. He's got an extra minute and a half, but his position isn't so great. We keep talking about opening lines. Black needs to open lines. But Black trying to open lines for White. The rook on e1 is well placed. It can come to e5. You can put the second rook over on e1. And there's just very clear plans for White. The knight on a5 is stuck there, but it's impossible for Black to attack it. So I think that you cannot be too pleased with this position. And you know what? I'm not too pleased with this position either.
Well, let's go to the other game with that. We have Wesley So and Jianchao playing there. Looks like both players are pretty relaxed there at the board. They seem both like, you know, they're just settling into things. The game has just begun. It's the middle game. How do you assess it?
I think the chances for a draw are very high. You see the statistics, 61% for White. I'd say that's pretty accurate. White definitely is slightly better. Although Black has a queenside majority with 3 pawns to just 2 for White, at some point you can cripple the pawn structure and move like a5. This pawn on a6, is the real target. This pawn right here, because the queen is spying on it. So the d file is controlled by white, the open file here. The pawn on a6 is weak. White doesn't really have any weaknesses himself, and the black pawns on the king side have gone a little far. So I think white is slightly better, but black has good chances to hold.
I'd like to point out the time difference, though. I know, it's still a long way to go. It's a 25-minute game, but at this stage, that's 7 minutes difference. That is going to come into play later on. If you think about it, 7 minutes, that's going to be 1 minute versus 7, 8 minutes. When you're down to those numbers, your nerves, you're just you can't concentrate, you can't think straight. And when you have $100,000 on the line, anything can happen. Lawrence, I've got a question for you, a chess question.
Yeah.
We know that white is slightly better.
Sure.
What if white? How can practically white progress here? Maybe does he have ideas with the g4, taking that f5 square, or is he going to advance on the queen side, perhaps a5 at some point, weakening the c5 pawn? How is he going to do this?
Well, actually, both moves are strategically desirable. g4 is a nice move to get in if you want to consolidate your control over f5, and as is a5, Robert mentioned it before, just to break up this pawn structure. But what Wesley has got going for him, 7 minutes, let me tell you, that's what I can do in 7 minutes, if only you knew. It's a long time. And it's a serious factor here, because what it means is that he can get these positions where he's just got that little edge, and we saw it in the main tournament where he can just work it, run his opponent's time down. And Xiao might be in a position where he's actually so close to losing on time that he makes that final mistake. But he's made an extremely radical decision here, Robert. He's played the move b5. Talk us through it.
What's going on?
No, I actually really like that move. The idea is that if you try to capture the pawn on b5 twice, you get an exchange, and after queen takes b5, I simply just put my rook on b8 and win this b2 pawn. So it's not actually a free pawn. It's an illusion. We're in Vegas after all. So after b5, even if you don't take twice, and let's say you make a move like b3, well, I'm trying to exchange more pieces, more pawns are coming off the board, my chances of drawing are increased. What I don't like in the white position are these double pawns. Typically, we don't really like double pawns in the ending, and I just think it's hard now with the pawn on e4 to do anything with these kind of jumbled in pawns.
The pawn on g3 covers a very important square, f4, which is why I'm actually surprised Wesley went for the e4 push instead of the g4 push, because as Robert might show with a few arrows here, the pawn on e3 protects the square d4 and f4, right? But now the d4 square might become weak. We can't really put a knight on d4 at the moment, but I don't know, which pawn push was better?
I like the pawn push to g4, but I think he might be saving that square perhaps for his knight. At some point, the move like knight h2, queen to h5 is possible. It's a very distant plan. I don't think it's realistic. But also, the move e5 is a threat. So we have tons of arrows here. I'm going to get rid of them for a second. You can start pushing that pawn and gaining space in the center. And it looks like he made that move.
So Zhou here played queen f5. And this looks really tricky. Lawrence.
I think Zhao's playing absolutely fine, actually. b5 was a great move just to release some of the problems that he could potentially face on the queen side. And yes, Wesley's advance is pawn up to e5, but queen f5, again, the most accurate move. And you know what? You could get a mass exchange of rooks down the d line. If all of those rooks come off, we get another ending with very similar material. Here we go. We can see the rook exchange, mass rook exchange, changing everything once again. Pawn takes pawn on the queen side.
This looks like it's going straight to a draw and straight
well, he can take that pawn off.
But he takes that pawn, but the black has the opportunity to go pawn g4.
Right.
After g4, the pawn e5 will hang. Then the queen on e5 is a great piece. So I think that Zhao has played amazing chess in this tournament, and especially in this game. I think he's going to make a draw.
He's playing very inspired. We've been looking at his games for a while now, and he's just extremely solid. He's come back after quite a big upset in the early rounds. Yep. He's losing to a junior much lower rated than him. And now he's got a very nice blockade, knight e6.
That's an excellent move.
Excellent.
No, that's showing how well he's playing.
That is I agree, that's a very classy move. The idea is the knight on e6 protects the pawn on c5. At some point, you can trade knights on d4. Normally, when you're down a pawn, you don't want to trade, but it creates a passed pawn in the center.
That's right.
Yeah.
And with that, before we get back to this very exciting, classy chess by Jianchao, let's have a look at the other game. Definitely no less exciting. Here we have Yangyi just played rook f8, and as you pointed out, Lawrence, that king on f3, what's going on?
Well, the computer loves this position for white after rook ad1, which is the move that Robson just played. And Ray, we have to commend him on the way he's handled this position. He played a very strong move with king f3. He's opened up the lines favorably for him. So now there's this square on d6 that you can see there. A piece is going to land there, and it's not so clear to see what black is doing. The position's still a bit muddy, though. Despite what the computer says, and this is the point, there are still practical chances always due to the various different imbalances in the position. So white's better for sure, but...
Say, Lawrence, what about that knight on a5? What is it doing? I understand the computer values it as a knight, but practically, what are you going to do with that guy?
Well, I think one of the big points is it's a bit like a future, a piece you're going to use in the future. It doesn't have to play something now. If you play a move like rook to d6, rook to b6, you've got rook down to b8, and then suddenly all of these squares open up for the knight. So that's just one of many ideas. It doesn't have to do anything. And remember, that pawn on c4 is weak. So maybe rook to d4 is an idea in the position.
And do you think it's fair to say that just as the knight at the moment isn't doing much, well, it is, as you pointed out, attacking the c4 pawn, black's bishop on b5 is just acting like a big pawn itself.
Yeah, it is, but at the same time, look at that long diagonal along the a8 to h1, the longest diagonal on the board. At some point, it might reactivate via that diagonal. So despite losing a pawn here or there, if he can get the bishops active and the rooks working and the knight all working in harmony, he might end up doing a pretty good job. But at the moment, you have to say that Robson is in control.
Thanks, Lawrence. Robert, what do you think about a move for black, something like g5, to open up the f file there?
Yeah, g5 is definitely a possibility, and the idea is that the rook barrels down on the white king. So g5 looks possible. I don't like it. It opens up the position.
Well, maybe not now, but at some point.
Agreed. Maybe not now, but you have to keep that move in mind. I do like the point that black can afford to give up this pawn on c4, because when the knight takes it, the bishop will have the c6 square to retreat to. But I really like white's position. I think what Lawrence said is the best plan. An idea like rook to d6, followed by rook to b6. And after rook d6, you can even bring your knight over to c6. It protects this square. So white is definitely ahead, and ahead on the clock. He's up 3 minutes there. So Yu is in pretty big trouble. I don't like his chances at all. You know, it's really disappointing for him to be in this situation. But as we saw last game, well, you can get lucky.
All right, well, I've heard in the other game that a special move, knight d4, has been played. This looks, just correct me if I'm wrong, is Zhou playing for something here?
No, Zhao is trying to make a draw. I mean, he is playing good moves, so he doesn't have to worry about doing anything too special. But knight d4 was an excellent try. The idea is to trade off the pieces, and once these knights get swapped off here, white is up one pawn. And the pawn itself is on the king's side. We see this pawn on e5. But if they can trade this d pawn for this b pawn, well, then we have a pretty good chance of making a draw. So Zhao is playing excellent chess.
Right, Lawrence.
No, knight d4 again is the best move in the position. He's played perfectly so far. He hasn't made one mistake, and he's making the right moves with black against a guy who's in the top 10 in the world. So credit to him. Once the knights do come off, it makes it even more difficult for white to try and win. White actually has to be a bit careful. I agree with you here, Ariane. If he's a bit complacent, suddenly, let's say the knight were to take the knight, pawn takes knight, if we can get that on the board, and then play, I don't know, let's play a bad move like queen to d2. Then suddenly, you have to be careful about this d pawn, maybe queen b1 check, forcing the king out wide to h2, and then the move d3, and suddenly you're threatening to play queen c2 and march your own pawn. So, although So won't do this, I'm absolutely certain, a bit of care is required. We can see the clock times, 13 minutes to 9 minutes 39, and he's played the move queen c4, Robert. What's going on there?
Well, he went queen c4 to prevent black from getting a pass pawn on the d file. Like you just mentioned, Lawrence, it would become very dangerous. Now, though, Zhao can just start trading off pieces. If the move knight takes f3, pawn takes f3, queen takes e5, I'm pretty sure, and by pretty sure I mean 100% sure, that this is a dead draw. So Zhao is playing excellent chess. He's really doing a good job. He's going to survive another round. And this is exactly what happened on the board. They will be making a draw fairly shortly. Look at them.
There's a handshake right there. They are into a tiebreak round, 15 minutes each. I don't know who wants this. You know, going into this game, I am pretty sure that Wesley expected to push with white. You know, he expected to try and draw with black, win with white. I gotta say, I think Zhou is a little bit happier right now.
Oh, of course Xiao is happier. He's a low-rated player, and he held the highest seed in the tournament to 2 draws. Wesley So, though, is determined. After all, he just turned 21 a few days ago, and he hasn't been going out. That shows some real determination. Xiao, though, really amazing chess from him. He's playing so well. He's not getting phased at all.
Well, he's smiling there. Look at him. He's with his second friends from China. He looks happy. You know, I think he's just happy to be here. Millionaire Monday. I don't think he went in this tournament thinking, I'm going to make Millionaire Monday, whereas Wesley certainly did. And if we can get a shot of Wesley there, he's pensively looking at his compatriot's game there, walking off stage now, trying to get his mind in the headset for, well, 15-minute games, because it's a completely different animal, isn't it? I mean, the quicker it gets, different strategies you got to employ. There's his coach there, Susan Polgar, Grandmaster Susan Polgar. They don't look as happy as they did previously with Ray Robson, because they know that as the time gets shorter, the weaker player has a few more chances, simply because of dynamics of time and the role of luck in shorter time controls. Lawrence.
Yeah, there's always that element. It's a really tricky one, though, isn't it? Because sometimes a player is just better at quicker formats. Hell, for all we know, Zhou might be one of the best unknown 5-minute players in the world, which would be terrible news for Wesley. You just never know how good these guys are at the shorter formats. So Wesley, he won't be too disheartened. I think he's just going to realize that, you know, there's...
Sorry to interrupt you, Lawrence, but we have a move on the other game, Ray Robson versus Yangyi. Very decisive round, especially for the young Ray, Sugar Ray here. Rook d6 was just played. Is white just much better, Robert?
Yeah, white is much better, and not much has changed since we last took a peek. It looks like the pawn on f4 is now a target. If white is not careful, black will snatch it up with the knight, followed by pawn to g5, and the pin on the king is pretty severe, but it's not looking good for the Chinese player. Ray Robson is in full control. That rook on d6 is well placed. A move now like knight takes c4 is probably possible. The idea of bishop takes c4, rook c6 check allows you to pick that bishop right back up. So there are some tactics here at play in white's favor as well.
Lawrence, what do you think about the statistics on screen? 84% winning chances for young Ray.
Well, I'm not sure it's that high, if I'm totally honest, but that said, clearly he is better. He's got the time advantage as well. Let's point that out. 11 minutes to 7 minutes. But still, it's one of those positions where black has got chances. And we saw it in the last game. Look, I think we're getting a bit excited here. Let's remember what happened a few minutes ago. Yangyi was totally, I mean, you can't be more winning apart from checkmate. And he blundered, he lost it. And this position is far less severe for him. Who knows, maybe it's Ray's time to go wrong, but the way things are going for Ray, you find it difficult to believe. We've had another move. White's better, but there are still chances for you.
Well, Yu seems pretty dejected there. He's down on time. Robert, how do you assess his chances of getting any play in this position?
No, it's just really not looking good for him. White is dominating on all sides of the board. The rook on d6 is so powerful. The pawn on c4 is going to fall down shortly. It's really terrible position for you. He's already in a bad mindset after losing earlier today. It's really, really tough game for him. And he made a move, but now his rook's on the same line as his bishop on e5. So, yeah, it's not going well.
No, we see Ray there playing very confidently. Yangyi composed, but a little bit sad there. Lawrence, you've been in this situation before in a kind of, a must-win thing, and you get a position, you can't hope for more than a draw. How is he feeling?
Well, he's obviously feeling devastated, and unfortunately for him, he can't even bribe his opponent. Hey, do you want 25,000 bucks? No, if I win, I get 50,000. Yeah. So, deep pockets don't even work here. That's a joke, of course. I'm not insinuating that anybody bribes anybody in the world, but it's a tough spot for you, Yangyi. He's really it is a tough position. The more I look at it, it's a bit like one of my my ex-girlfriends, the longer I was with it, the more I hated it. And the more I look at this, the more I hate it, actually. Black is passive. I think Bishop d4 was just played. Ray, credit to him, is playing the best game I've seen him play in the tournament so far, playing perfect chess.
Yes, for the first time, well, at least what we've seen in the last 2 days, Ray Robson is playing solidly. He might actually deserve to win this game. What do you think?
Yeah, Ray Robson is playing well, but we have to take his opponent's circumstances into account as well. Black needs to win. Scratch it. He has to win. And when you have to win, you play more adventurous. You play moves you might not normally make. You play less objective chess and more subjective chess. So Ray Robson is going to win this game. I mean, it's just really that bad for Black. And, well, they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I hope Ray's luck travels with him, or at least he hopes it does. So it's a good position for him.
Definitely their young man on screen, lucky Sugar Ray Robson. Maybe he doesn't need luck in this game, though. He seems to be playing well. Let's go over to the other game, which is finished, and let's have who plays who after this. So if Yangyi doesn't manage to win, that means that Yangyi will play
the loser of the match that is yet to be determined.
That's right. So we will have definitely that tiebreak, which is 15 minutes for each player. And I've just been told that a big move has happened on the board there. G5 has happened. It hasn't come through on the relay yet, but as you can see on the board there, on the bottom right-hand corner, Yangyi went for G5.
Yeah,
Lawrence.
He had to play that, right? You got to throw the kitchen sink at the guy. Throw everything in there, even the dirty plates that you haven't washed from 5 days ago because you've been partying in Vegas too much. Throw them at him, see if that works. You can't just repeat. Actually, the best way to play in that position, if we take G5 back just for 1 second, as they've got a bit of time, the most correct way is to play Rook to C7, Bishop to D4, and Rook to F7. That would repeat moves, though, and that's exactly what Ray wants to provoke. So you have to try something. G5, he's going to play G3, just supporting that pawn on F4, and then it's back over to you. But I'm really struggling to find a plan. He's got to come up with something quick, and he's 4 minutes down on the clock as well. So he's really going to have to perform miracles. But we saw it in the game before. Maybe it's going to happen again.
I think, Robert, that this young Ray Robson, he somehow doesn't deserve to be in the final, but he does as well, because his luck and skill have just been coordinating, and look at him. He's up on the clock. He's much better. What do you do?
No, I mean, he's playing very good game in this one. But, as we mentioned, it's easy to play well when your opponent has to take crazy risk and make some not so great choices. But I think in this position, Yu has gained more control than he had just a few moves ago. If we look at the percentages, his shot up to 35%. Before it was much lower, and it just shows that and now knight takes c4.
Ray did not play g3.
So he's willing to give up this f4 pawn, and immediately Yu snatches it. So Yu is playing quickly. He knows that he's down on the clock. Only 3 minutes now. He's got a minute back in the differential. But it's getting more and more unclear, and that's what Yu is hoping for. He hopes it gets muddied and he gets a chance to win.
I think it's interesting that Ray didn't play g3, the more solid move, you could say. Lawrence.
I agree, Arian. I think it's a bad practical decision to play this knight takes c4, not because it's objectively worse, but because it just makes the position slightly more muddier. And g3 kept the status quo. It would make you think again. And now we've got a position where he's just whipped the knight off as well. So everything has changed. And what's going to happen here?
Lawrence, I think that this position is still very good for white,
Sure.
and will just fizzle out into a draw with proper play and not in a must-win game. For example, if you take on f4, rook takes f4 check, which looks like the natural response. After rook takes, pawn takes, I can even just take on f4 with my king. The reason, bishop takes c4 looks like it wins a knight, but after rook c6 check, I'm gaining my piece back. So white would be up a pawn in the resulting ending with only chances to win, no chances to lose.
Yes, definitely heartbreaking there for the Yangyi Chinese Grandmaster Yangyi Yu, who was looking at this and thinking to himself, how could I have changed? What opening was this? Was a Sicilian, so he did try. Yangyi Yu definitely tried to get an unbalanced position from the get-go, but Ray Robson has been playing very solidly, and it looks like he's at least in for a draw. Lawrence.
Well, he played a move there. I think he had another opportunity very quickly. Instead of taking back with the pawn, he might have been able to double rooks. It's a tough one to see with such short time. The only difference is that now at least he manages to keep more pieces on the board. He's going to win this bishop back by taking with the rook, and then you've got a position, you might give up this pawn on e6, but it doesn't matter. You've got a rook on the board, you've got more chances. As Robert showed before, if all of the pieces come off in that rook ending, only white can win, and it's almost certainly going to be a draw. So I think I missed a chance again there by Yangyi just to keep his winning hopes alive.
Well, I'd like to remind all our viewers that we don't just have an open tournament happening here. We have amateur sections who are, as you can see on screen, there they are. They are all playing for some pretty big prizes, and we will have a chance to meet some of the winners of these 5 sections later on after the final. And you know, for them, Robert, the pressure is just as high. They're a different level, of course, different experience. They've never had this situation before, unlike our grandmasters in the open section. But it's just as important to them. And that's what the Millionaire Chess Open is about. It's about bringing chess to the masses, and everyone has a chance. I mean, Robert, in your career, when you were an amateur, a 2200 player, or even a 1400 player, did you ever have the chance to play for $24,000?
No, I did not, but I think the bigger message here is that chess is not a game necessarily about the money. It's great that there's so much money involved, but when it comes down to it, you want to win first place because you care about the game, because it hurts to lose, and because you just have that desire to crush your opponent. So the prize money is huge. They're all fighting for that money. Of course, you know, as people, we need income to sustain our living, but in reality, I think these players just think about winning their game, not so much about the money.
Yes, I think that they're putting it all on the line to win, because chess is an extremely competitive sport. And I say sport because, you know, you need to be really physically fit for some of this stuff, because you can't have that mental energy, that mental strength and stamina without being physically fit. And as Lawrence has pointed out, some of the players, the grandmasters in our open section, are extremely fit. They're cut. They go to the gym. They run 10Ks a day. Extremely strong physically and, of course, mentally very, very tough. Let's go back to the game of the round. We have Robson there. I think he's going to secure this easily. This is in the bag for him. Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, the position is coming to a pretty much dead-drawn game. White has to be a tiny bit careful because Black does have this e-pawn, but he's got it well under control with his king blockading very nicely in the center. Yu is now approaching the 4-minute mark. He's not going to accept the draw. That, let's face it, he's not just going to shake hands. He has to try something. So how creative can he be? He's going to have to take more risks. Doesn't matter if he loses. He's got to take the risks, try something. But you know what, Robert? I can't even see a try here.
Yeah, it's really difficult here because objectively the position is so equal. But you're right, Lawrence, you have to try. You can't be complacent with a draw because a draw is the equivalent of a loss in this situation. I would try to maybe get my rook to g8 and start trying to put pressure on g3, but your e5 pawn is always hanging. This rook is doing an amazing job cutting off the black king from moving the d file. It's just really all zeros here, completely equal. I think that, you know, it's just a matter of time before they make that draw.
I've just been told that Robson seems to be employing what Yangyi did earlier. He's in the bathroom again, but now it's a bit different. He's got 6 minutes. He doesn't have 25 minutes. He's got 6 minutes, and he walks off to the bathroom. If that isn't a sign of confidence, I don't know what is.
Well,
here he is. He's running back.
Yeah, I don't think that's a sign of confidence. I think that's a sign of I don't want to pee in my pants. So he's just trying to make sure that he can focus on the chess and not focus on the bodily fluids.
I don't know about you guys, but if I was sitting there and I got $100,000 on the line, I got 6 minutes left. It's a drawn position at least. I'm gonna hold it. Come on.
No, even it's not worth $50,000 to pee in your pants on live broadcast.
He
needs to go to the bathroom. Look at him. He's got plenty of time and he's confident. He's going to not lose this game. He's going to move on to the final. Look at his opponent. His opponent's kind of biting his hand there.
He's breathing pretty hardly. Look at that.
He just ran. He ran a marathon to make sure he didn't lose on time. The
Dude,
guy.
You got 6 minutes. You're going to go to the bathroom?
Yeah, I would go to the bathroom too. He's still up 2 minutes in the clock. He's in an easy position. He's a strong grandmaster. I have no problem. I don't know what's your problem with him going to the bathroom, but
Because he's got 7 minutes, 6 minutes. The bathroom is at least 2 minutes away.
Ariane, I think this is a case of the gender differences as well. He's not going in there putting on a bit of lippy, a bit of blusher, doing his eyebrows. He's in and out of there. Probably didn't even wash his hands given the time situation, And you girls, you're used to it. You queue for everything. The queue is longer than the queue outside the club. You queue for the toilet for 45 minutes. You've got stronger bladders than us. We just go when we have to. We're primitive.
Well, again, maybe this is a question about the position, actually, because Ray Robson knows he's got at least a draw here. What do you think?
No, he has at least a draw. He's calmer now. Look at him. He's very poised. And the position is very simple for him. The idea is to trade off all the pawns, which will lead to a dead draw. We see that black has this pawn e5 under attack. Once the e5 pawn falls, the f4 pawn will fall. Of course, black can capture this pawn on g2 in the near future, but even once he captures that one pawn, it's not enough. I just really think white can just start chopping away at the pieces, and it'll be very soon be a draw. Look at this, rook in 2 versus rook in 2. That is a theoretical draw, no problem.
Yeah, Ray Robson looking very confident there. He knows he's got enough time to put this to at least a draw. Lawrence.
Yeah, he's got, he shouldn't ever really lose this. And the beauty of this position compared to even the one that Yangyi was winning, it's all about chances, practical chances. When there's more pieces on the board, it's easier to go wrong, right? So in this position, Ray is much closer to a draw, I would say, and getting more draws in this position out of 100 games than we saw Yangyi messing up his winning position. So it's great news for Robson fans. Maybe Ariane, he'll go and buy some lip gloss or something so that the next time he comes back, he can look good for the cameras and when he goes to the toilet again.
That depends, Lawrence, but
Maybe you can lend him yours.
Maybe I can, but I think he's very handsome as it stands. He doesn't need anything. So let's have a look at the chess, guys. We can get really carried away here. I'm so sorry.
Don't apologize.
No, don't know.
It's
apologies.
life.
That's life. That's Vegas, and it looks like lucky Ray Robson has been lucky, but very skilled in this game. Wouldn't you say, Robert?
Yeah, and he's just going to take off all the pieces. The line I was just showing earlier, rook takes e5, rook takes g2.
That just happened, right?
Yeah, it just happened. It's going to be a draw soon. I would be careful if I was Ray. I wouldn't think too much. Again, 2 minutes and 55 seconds to count down. That's plenty of time, especially at such a simple position. So Ray, although not the best blitz player, he has more than enough time. Considering how simple the position is, he's going to make an easy draw. He just needs to make sure he keeps himself under control.
I gotta say, he doesn't look very nervous.
No, he shouldn't be. He's won the first game. He knows he shouldn't lose this game. He's just going to capture Black's pawns. Black's going to capture his pawns. They're going to go get lunch together. They're going to share a meal. They're going to share everything together. It's over.
Share everything? I don't know about that, but he very well may be sharing the final with his Webster University friend and fellow Grandmaster Wesley So. Lawrence.
Well, we don't know that yet. They've got to play this playoff. And again, look how well Zhou is playing. Excuse me, Xiao is playing well above his current rating, in my opinion. And Wesley, is he going to get nervous? All the expectation is on him. I don't think we should ride off Xiao just yet. Of course, he's big underdog, but he's a great player. These guys, though, at the moment, they're approaching 2.5 minutes, 50-50, as you can see on the board. Stone cold theoretical draw. But can you, maybe he can try a little something, although actually, no.
I think we're going to see a handshake very, very soon. We can see the statistics up there, 50-50. I think that's pretty accurate, isn't it, Robert?
It's definitely accurate, but as we saw last game, the statistic isn't accurate when it comes to human play, human emotion, human vulnerability.
And lots of pieces.
And lots of pieces. 100% last time that you should win. And we all thought that it was 1,000% that he was going to win. But you know what? He tripped on himself. He fell over. He's really down and out right now. Ray Robson, in this position, considering how simple it is, he will win. He will draw this one and move on to the final with the win of the match.
Let's get a close-up of his face there, Yangyi, realizing that his chances at the top prize are basically over. But, you know, that it's not complete heartbreak because he's still got the consolation match after this, assuming that this is going to be a draw. And he's still playing for some big money there. You know, you can't be completely heartbroken Although I do see a bit of dejection there on his face. He's just playing out the moves. I don't think there's any fight left in him. Look at that close up there. He's just trying to compose himself. What do you think, Lawrence?
Yeah, clearly he's dejected. He knows he's not winning this one. Ray's got far too much time to make the draw. There are too many ways to make the draw as well. It's not like he can just try a last gasp attempt. There's no ideas left in the position. The pawns are all going to come off. They will agree to a draw, and what a result for Ray Robson means that he's going to go home with a minimum of $50,000, which let me tell you, if I had $50,000 as a student, well, my chess rating wouldn't be going up. I can put it like that. I'd be enjoying Vegas immensely. That said, Yu Yang, yeah, he's a professional, and he's going to play his best in the consolation matches. Still got 25 grand to win, still pride on the line. I'm sure he'll put in his best performance there.
That's right, and I think that Ray is just using up his time here just to make sure that nothing extraordinary happens and that he has this draw in the bag. Robert, how do you assess his chances in the final with either Zhou or Wesley So?
Well, Ray Robson has to be an all-time high right now. He's been just so close to defeat on so many occasions, but he just hasn't gone down. We saw even very early in the tournament, I think it was as early as round 2, he was in big trouble. His opponent bailed him out with a 3-move repetition, forcing a draw. So Ray, all tournament, has got luck on his side. He might as well have a 4-leaf clover in his pocket. He might as well be seeing rainbows and going to find a pot of gold, because this guy really has everything going for him, and it's absolutely amazing. And with that, you can't even argue with that. There's no sound logic that can compete with the fact that he's getting all of this luck, and with that, he may be able to win his final match.
Yeah, that's right. I think that the players just had a very brief glance at each other there. They both know it's over. They're just playing out a few formalities here, and I believe we will have a handshake in under a minute. This is over.
Yeah, I mean, you can't put out your hand just yet. There might be just one last try. It's not a try. They've both seen it. There's some way to sacrifice the rook to distract the other rook, but it's just not happening. It's a draw. Normally, under normal circumstances, they would have been up 20 minutes ago, because the position was so drawn in this ending. I think he might just be coming to terms with things here. He's played rook e2.
Well, I think we've all been in this situation before where you just don't want to stretch out your hand. You're still just trying to cope with the fact, okay, I blew it, and let's just collect my emotion before I have to sign that short score sheet and deal with myself. What do you think, Lawrence?
Yeah, I mean, he's just realizing he might even be thinking about the first game now. There he is, he's looking up. No, it's over, sometimes you come to terms with it at the board during a game. We're going to see a handshake shortly.
Yeah, it's really sad because throughout the entire event, Yu has maybe played the best chess out of everyone, with the exception of Wesley So, and also Daniel Naroditsky. We've just seen that type of heartbreak, that the players who are playing very well, one bad move and your tournament's done. We saw Naroditsky lose to Xiao in the tiebreak.
And that's what happens when the time control is so short,
Yeah, and even in the longer time control with David Bursey, we saw that, against Ray, this very
but
same
again,
Ray
that
Robson,
blunder happened in a very tight time control. So as we can see here at the Millionaire Chess Open, the way Grandmaster Maurice Ashley has designed it is to make it exciting and to give players a chance for anything to happen. Because with these time controls, the way he said it, it's just, we've been seeing results that are totally unexpected.
And there we go.
And here we go. We have a draw. Ray Robson is through to the finals of the Millionaire Chess Open. It is Millionaire Monday, and he has a shot at that $100,000 first prize. He can rest. He's going to go home. Well, not go home. He's going to have a nice big lunch break, rest up for either Wesley So or Jianchao. I think that Ray Robson has had quite a great ride. I mean, he hasn't played the best chess, as you've pointed out, Robert, but he's been very lucky, and when it's necessary, he's been skillful.
I think at this point he doesn't care whether or not he's been playing good chess. When there's so much, we have to be realistic. There's so much money on the line, and with that kind of purse there, why does he care if he's playing well or not? As long as he's winning, right? He can just forget about it. He can just move on, collect at least right now. Even if he loses in whoever his next opponent is, he will get at least $50,000. That is a crazy sum of money, more than the average person makes for a whole year in one tournament. So he's going to smile soon. We'll see. Maybe he's just trying to stay calm so he can win 100,000, not just 50. But there it is.
Well,
There's
look at
the
him
smile.
there. He looks like he should be playing basketball. He's so tall.
Well, chess seems to be his sport instead.
Definitely. He's a very smart, educated, humble young man. I'm a big fan. Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. Obviously, he's an extremely talented chess player. He hasn't played his best, but as Robert said, who cares? He's got through. He doesn't care. He might be thinking, hey, maybe this is my tournament. I might not be playing the best. It's like in many other sports. It's no different to chess. When I follow Chelsea, maybe not this season because we're crushing everybody, but last season, sometimes we weren't playing well and we still won the game, and that's a sign of champions. And sometimes you need that, especially in a game like chess where it's so cruel. And it's happening here. Good luck to Ray. We're going to come back, I think, reasonably shortly to see the 15-minute match between Wesley So and Zhao.
Lawrence, we have a graphic to bring up there on the screen looking at the situation right now. We have a tie-break round versus Grandmaster Wesley So from the Philippines, top seed of our event, versus a bit of a dark horse, Jianchao, who has been really punching above his weight in this tournament. That is going to be exciting. They're going to have 15 minutes each to play that one out. Lawrence, over to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Zhao's shown how strong he is at the 15-minute time control. He came through yesterday with flying colours. So Wesley, it's no easy task for him. Got a lot on his plate. He's going to go and rest. He's going to get some good food down him, relax, maybe go for a walk. There are various things, excuse me, you can do to just get your mind straight. He'll have a look at what to do in the opening, of course, now that he has a bit of time. But clearly, the news of this round so far is the fact that Ray, who was the underdog going into this playoff match, has beaten Yangyi. We've called him various things. I'm going to call him Ray 9 Lives. I think he's got about 5 left in this tournament. Maybe he'll need them, maybe he won't. But, congratulations to the guy because he's stuck in there.
Of Ray 9 Lives or Lucky Sugar Ray or just Sugar Ray Robson? I'm not sure. We have him in the studio who will cut to you shortly. But just to remind you, on the screen we have the tiebreaker at 2 p.m. Pacific time. That is between Grandmaster Wesley So from the Philippines versus dark horse Jianchao. And here we have Grandmaster Ray Robson here in the studio after winning his match with Yangyi. How are you feeling? I mean, you must be so ecstatic. Did you expect to come this far?
Well, yeah, I'm feeling great. Still a little tense from the games, but well, before the tournament, my goal was just to make it to the final, the 4. And after having made it there, somewhat luckily, yeah, I'm just even more surprised I've got to the final now.
Well, you say somewhat luckily. Robert here, we've been looking at your games, and Robert, you've got something to say about his 9 lives, don't you?
Yeah, I was just simply, I lost my speech. We were talking about your first game, and we counted you out. We thought you were dead lost. But somehow, as time went on, he made more and more inaccurate moves, and then you came away with the win. Like, were you just on the verge of resigning throughout that game?
Well, we played a really complicated line, which is pretty dangerous for black, and if you don't know or remember all the theory, then one mistake could lead you just to a lost position, and I think that's what happened. And I did think I was lost in the game, but perhaps he missed this move, queen takes c2, and after that, I'm not sure if he was still winning, but I definitely still had chances, and I guess he kind of collapsed after that.
Yeah, and when we go back to this part of the game, he was playing excellent chess at this point. The bishop sacrifice is completely winning, and we were criticizing him here because he missed a very nice win. This all was perfect by him, and then after knight c8, well, actually after knight c8, we have queen takes c2, and he missed the very nice queen h8 check, rook g8, which he played, and he missed this move, rook takes f5 check, and it would have been lights out for you. Did you see this move?
No, I didn't see it. I thought he was also winning before, and at this point I didn't see a clear win for him. But yeah, I guess we both missed this.
Okay, so it's not just him. So we were watching him. I thought you saw it because you kind of were looking away from the board a bit. So I thought that was a strategy to make sure that he wouldn't see it.
It was a total uproar in here. We were all expecting rook f5, rook f5, rook f5. When he played queen h3, we were like, what's going on?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of nerves at this stage, and even though he's such a strong player, it can affect anyone, and that's probably the only explanation for what happened in that game.
Yeah, I think so. If you didn't see it either, it must be really nerve-wracking in there. You know, we're going to let you go to get your rest for the final, but I just got one question for you. Who don't you want to see sitting opposite you in the final?
I kind of don't want to see Wesley, and I want to see him because I think it would be great. We're friends, and we're both from Webster, and it would be great to play him in the final, but on the other hand, I have a terrible score against him. So.
Okay.
Kind of, I'm not sure about that one.
All right, Lawrence, have you got any questions?
Yeah, Ray, congratulations, well done. You're obviously a very young man, and am I right in thinking you're not quite of the age to play down here in Vegas just yet, is that right?
That's right.
All right, well, if you need anybody to use the money you've won to have a little flutter, I'm your boy. So we'll go down there after the final later today, have a bit of a go on the blackjack, maybe have a nice steak, and celebrate your success. But don't forget about us over here. You know, we got a tough job as well. Our hearts are pounding.
Well, Ray Robson, Grandmaster Ray Robson, we hope that you keep our hearts pounding in the final versus either your friend Wesley So or Jianchao. We wish you the best of luck for the final. Congratulations for making it to the final two. And
Thank
good
you
luck.
very much.
Over to
All
you,
right,
Lawrence.
so in a very short period of time, we're going to see the second round of tie breaks between Zhou and So. Don't underestimate Zhou. He's played excellently. He's impressed me the most this tournament. So's obviously got the class. You can see that at 2 o'clock Pacific time is when we're going to begin. These guys, they're going to get more nervous as it drags on. Lot on the line, a lot up for grabs. Ray's got to the final. Who's going to be next? We'll soon see. I can't wait. I love the drama. I love the action. And I hope everybody at home is enjoying it just as much.
Thank you, Lawrence. That is one very, very happy young man right there. He's going to get some rest before the finals, and he gets to watch the other two fight it out for a place with him. We will see you shortly at 2 p.m., which is in under 30 minutes. Make sure to be here and join us to watch this thriller of a tiebreaker.
I'm Grandmaster Maurice Ashley. Welcome back to the Millionaire Chess Open.
Welcome back, everybody, to Millionaire Monday here in Las Vegas. Welcome back, everybody, to Millionaire Monday here at the Millionaire Chess Open, live from Las Vegas, Planet Hollywood. We are going straight to the tie-break round between Wesley So and Jianchao. They drew their match where it was 25 minutes each, and now they are down to 15 minutes each in a tie-break round. My name is Ariane Kowili, and I am here with Grandmaster Robert Hess and International Master Lawrence Trent. Lawrence, what are your thoughts about this tie-break round?
Well, it's obviously a critical round for both of these players. They had two relatively equal games in the first batch of matches. Zhou has proven he's playing exceptionally. Wesley's going to have to do a really great job to break this guy down. Clearly, Wesley's the favorite, but anything can happen, as we've seen in this tournament. Ups, downs, upsets, blunders, drama. We've had it all. We've been very, very, very lucky, and it's not even over yet.
And Robert, you have been in this situation a few times, I'm pretty sure, in your career. How do you think the players are feeling right now?
Well, I still think Wesley So has to be more nervous than Zhou because he's the higher rated player. Everyone is expecting him to win. Well, we're expecting him to win. So with all that kind of pressure, even if he tries to get rid of it, he knows that that's the case. If he doesn't win, it's an upset. Whereas for Zhou, he's happy to be here. He went through a lot just to get here. He won a fantastic last round game. He went into the tiebreakers and won there, qualified for Millionaire Monday. So really not much pressure on him, and he looks very calm.
Yes, he looks very focused and just happy to be here. I think that's the phrase we're looking at for him. What kind of openings do you think we're going to be expecting, Lawrence? I believe that Wesley is going to stick to his strategy that he's employed. Draw with black, win with white, playing solidly. What do you think is going to happen, Lawrence?
Yeah, I don't see any change in the way they played stylistically. I think Xiao, he's going to open with one pawn to d4, the queen's pawn opening, very solid option. And I think Wesley's going to reply something similar to what we saw. Actually, I beg your pardon, I think it was an English opening. Similar kind of idea. He's not going for the huge attack like we saw with Yu, for example. But we'll see, and a lot of drama can take place on those 64 squares. I can't wait for the action to start. Breaking a smile there. Don't know if that's a nervous smile. Normally a smile followed by a bit of water, as I've been on a few dates myself, normally indicates a bit of tension, a bit of stress, and a bit of nervousness. So they're playing, they're having a chat, respect each other as opponents. Robert, can you see any changes happening in this 15-minute match?
I think it's most important for Zhou to stick to his game. He's been playing very well. He hasn't really gotten in trouble, even against such a great player as Wesley So. So I think going forward, Zhou just sticks to his guns. He plays his normal, solid, slow, methodical, just making a slight advantage and trying to work that into a win. Whereas So, you know, again, you can't understate how much pressure is on him. Everyone, quite literally everyone, is probably expecting him to win. So, you know, he's nervous, but he's also been here before. He's been in the most elite tournaments. He's won so many important games. So both of them under pressure, and, you know, in their own right. But I really think Zhou can be competitive in this one.
Yes, I think that Wesley here, yeah, you're saying that Chinese Grandmaster is going to give him a bit of a fight, but I think Wesley has everything under control. And, you know, he's just focused, waiting for this game to start. Let's remind the viewers about this tiebreak system, if we can get some graphics there on the screen. We have 15 minutes. Each player has 15 minutes with a 5-second delay, which is not a 5-second increment, which is in most tournaments. The way we've designed it here is a 5-second delay. So you have what you have on the clock. You can't get more time. And if this is still a draw, if they draw both games with white and black, or win-loss, then we will go into a second tiebreak round where it gets extremely exciting with 2 5-minute matches and a 2-second delay. So as you can see, they drew their first match, 25 minutes, and as the times get shorter, it's getting even more exciting. And here we go, the first moves on the board. What does that look like to you, Lawrence? Wow, look at this. What opening is this?
I'm slightly...
I'm
don't know whether
confused.
it's the
angle of the camera. What's going on?
Yeah, this is... it's the camera...
It's the camera.
It's the wrong way around.
Vision. Because I thought for a moment that white just played f4, but it's actually, I think it's a Slav, isn't it?
It's a well-known Slav line. They're bashing out the moves, all been seen before. And yeah, this is a very topical line. I actually analysed a game in this variation, b4. If white plays b4 here, you've got this amazing c5 move. It was a novelty at the time, found by Kazim Zhanov against Topalov. Here we go, we've got the position now coming on the board.
Yeah, I'm trying to catch up with the player. They're moving so fast that they're faster than the actual, the board that we're using. So I'm just
Wesley, clearly, he hasn't even gone down in time. He's still got his 15 minutes. That means he's moving within that 5-second delay. I think Wesley is extremely prepared. His Slav Moran variation, I think he knows exactly what he's doing, Robert.
Well, clearly, he spent 0 seconds. That's a very impressive feat. But Zhou also hasn't spent that much time. Yes, he's already going down and probably about to spend his first full minute. But as we saw in the longer time control games, he does spend a lot of time making sure everything's okay.
I think it's impressive, though, that Wesley decided to play the Slav. Lately, he's been playing a lot of Grunfeld, and at the top level now, we're seeing the Grunfeld rather than a tactical crazy, wild position trying to win. It's become a very solid opening, you know, where white is trying to find something, find a hole in black's position. But instead of opting for the Grunfeld, he's gone for probably the more dynamic Slav here. What do you think, Lawrence?
Well, I wouldn't say the Slav is more dynamic than the Grunfeld.
Well, I think that this position is far more dynamic than some of the Grunfelds we've been getting lately.
I'd have to disagree. I've commentated on all the top matches over the past year. The Grunfeld is up there with the most dynamic positions. The difference between the Grunfeld, we're not going to go into it too much here, but the Grunfeld is a very concrete opening. In other words, a lot of the lines have been worked out till the end. It either works or it doesn't. With the Slav, there's still room for manoeuvre. So I'm interested to see what Wesley's going to do if white plays the most concretely correct move in the position. After rook c8, he's looking to break with c5 with the pawn. Look at the rook and the queen. We see this so much on the same file. So here white normally plays the move b4 to just clamp down on this square, but it's feasible that black can play this incredible move c5 anyway. It doesn't actually stop this idea, and it's a mad line. Black sacrifices a piece, he then wins it back, and it should be a draw. And this is how deep these guys go into their preparation now. This move was found, I was there, I actually saw it I was next to the board seeing it being played by Kazim Zhanov back against Topalov in the London Grand Prix a few years ago. So we'll see if he plays b4. If he doesn't, then black might just have this free hand in the center. If he gets that break in, at some point he's doing absolutely fine.
Absolutely, I think it's a very wise choice by Wesley to go for this line. Robert, any update here on Zhao's possibilities besides, of course, what Lawrence pointed out?
Well, b4, of course, is a main move and a definite possibility, but as Lawrence noted, you don't have to play necessarily like concrete lines. There's not that you're forced to do certain things. In some openings, that's absolutely the case. In like the Sicilian, some structures, there's a certain order of moves that you have to play in order not to have a bad position. But it looks like Zhao finally moved. As we see on the clock, he's down over 3 minutes for the moment, but Wesley is about to take his first thing. I think Zhao is doing well. He's, it's still very early stages of the game, but if he keeps it up and tries to apply even small pressure, he has to hope that perhaps Wesley will overpress. And he started with this move e4.
Yeah, that's the other line in this position, to play in the center.
Yeah, and the idea is simple. You want to go e5 next move and win a piece. Of course, black's not going to allow that, so both white and black are jockeying for position. Black himself can go pawn to e5, and the idea is to not allow you to fork my pieces. Black can also go pawn to c5 at some point. So black has options. White is trying to gain space in the center, but I think you're going to see soon that black is going to counterattack and open up his bishops.
Right, and let's go to the board. We have, sorry, I'm getting a signal here. I believe we have a move. Is the relay exactly the same as the
relay
board?
is exact. I've updated the board completely. It's the exact position we have right there.
Okay, so there we go.
So,
E4. So Lawrence, take us through this variation after c5.
Well, he's played c5. Robert said he's either going to play e5 or c5. c5 is, I would say, the more ambitious move, actually, because e5 in these structures are normally, you see it in a lot of Morans, they counter in the center like this. But c5 allows for a whole host of different exchanges, some forced lines. It would be interesting to perhaps go over these. Maybe we can do that with Robert in a moment. But they're quite an ambitious little move there. I've absolutely no doubt, by the way, that Wesley is still in his home preparation. He probably looked at both the moves, e5 and c5, went for c5. It's more ambitious. Maybe Zhao doesn't know it as well as Wesley.
Absolutely. Lawrence, I mean, you don't go for this kind of variation unless you know exactly what you're doing and you've cooked this up at home. Robert, what is your analysis here?
Yeah, I agree with the statistic that just popped up. Black is probably slightly better at the moment. The reason why is that he's gaining space on the queen side. The bishop on b7 is actually an extremely powerful piece. The white pawn is under attack on e4, and if you ever move it to e5, well, then the knight on f3 is under attack. So right now, I think the best move is bishop to e3 to develop your piece, protect your center, but it's very clear that black's not doing so badly, gaining space in the center. And we saw this similarly in other games like Drev. He played with black, he got a very good initiative, increases spatial advantage. So I think this is going to happen here.
And we can see Zhou eating up some of his time there. Remember, this isn't 25 minutes. These players have just come out of playing 2 25-minute games. Now they've got 15 minutes. It's kind of hard psychologically to deal with that. Quite a big change. I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but I'd say there is a different pace to that, and it must be hard to have only, 10 minutes break, and then, have to go into this completely different frame of mind. What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge change of pace, and they have to get accustomed to it very quickly. And I think Zhao made a very interesting decision. He decided instead of protecting his center and the pawn on d4, he captured the pawn on b5. Now for black, I think the obvious move is pawn takes d4. You regain a pawn, you attack the white queen on c2 with the rook, and it opens up more lines. The queen can move away to e2, but then you have to move like bishop b8. Despite losing this pawn in the near future, black has great chances. The bishops on b8 and b7 are great. Look at these diagonals. We get a lot of arrows here on the board.
And he's just played bishop b8, as we can see on the live stream there.
Yeah, and he's following my advice, which
has worked for him in the past.
Actually, he changed his move order. Instead of taking on d4 first, we go to the position after knight takes b5. He went bishop to b8 now. I thought taking on d4 first made more sense, but maybe now white can try something different. Maybe white can push d5 and not open up that line for the rook. But still, I like what black's doing. This bishop on b8 is very powerfully attacking, potentially getting a vicious attack. And look at the white clock.
I believe
almost
that
4 minutes.
Lawrence, International Master Lawrence Trent, now has his board updated. So give us your thoughts, Lawrence.
Yeah, well, this is a critical line in this position, and vaguely remember looking at it myself a while ago, and I think really the only move for white here is to re-sacrifice, or give the pawn back. We can see the pressure down the C line here. I think what white should do is play the move pawn to d5, if I remember my notes correctly. And the point is that now, if there's an exchange on d5, that's fine, because takes, I don't know, let's say the bishop takes here. Suddenly we've had a transformation. There's no more threats down the C line. The queen isn't getting trapped. And we've opened up the diagonal for our bishop and perhaps a rook to come to the D line. So I actually think d5 is correct. Don't quote me on that one, but trying to recall some of the work I've done myself.
Thank you, Lawrence. We know that you are very up to date when it comes to opening theory these days, so we'll get back to you with a few questions later. Robert, what do you think here about the clock situation? We can see white using up his time. Clearly, I would say clearly, Wesley is far more prepared in this position, in this opening.
Wesley's definitely has far better preparation in this game, and he's got a great position now. Zhao is making moves, and he followed Lawrence's advice, which, you know what, to be frank, sometimes I don't know if that's good or bad thing. And in this time, I don't think his position is very good. Black has a great bishop on d5, aiming to take this knight on f3 and cripple the white kingside pawn structure. The bishop b8, you can't understate its importance. It's really eyeing that h2 square.
Well, white's just played rook d1, so would you say that black has some small challenges in trying to develop his pieces with that rook there?
Well, the rook is doing well to aim at the black queen. There are so many pieces in the way, though. I think perhaps you can just capture this knight on f3, and after pawn takes, well, we see this terrible pawn structure on the king side. There are no white pieces around his king. So that means a huge attack can ensue. For example, if I kick your knight away with pawn to a6, you go knight to c3, maybe I could start going with this battery here. And now, all of a sudden, your king is very, very unsafe, and I really am starting to like Wesley So's position.
Yes, definitely seems a bit easier to play for black here. Wesley has just played queen b6.
Yep.
With the idea of?
Well, the idea is that c4 is now a huge threat. If you give black, let's say I waste a move with pawn to h3. Now I go c4, I prevent your bishop from protecting your knight. Next move is going to be queen takes knight. That would be game over. So Wesley So is making threats with every single move, and his opponent is not that much time left considering the complications here.
Right. Well, this is the kind of opening and the kind of position where you not only need some very good home analysis and a good memory to remember all the variations, but you do need a bit of help from the machine. Lawrence, what does the computer say?
Yeah, I'm not sure about rook d1 actually. It looks natural, but maybe he could have found something a bit sharper, because this queen b6 move is quite troubling. This idea that you've been mentioning with c4 is quite difficult to meet, and it may be the case that white has to just protect this knight with the pawn, move his pawn up one square to a4, but that doesn't look great after either a6 or even playing c4 straight away. So I think Wesley's in the driving seat, and I think the key factor, the real key factor, is look at the time difference now. Wesley over 5 minutes ahead, Xiao already down to 7 minutes, and you don't want this with white coming out of the opening against somebody like Wesley So. He's potentially in big trouble.
Yes, I think that this is the perfect case of seeing the class between the real elite of chess, of where Wesley has just, entered this year. He's been playing so well. He's got that solid style and openings, They just know exactly what they're doing. They don't need to play anything tricky. They just have their set of stuff that they know through and through. Sometimes, the 20th, 30th move, as Lawrence was saying, this is stuff that they look at home with a computer, with their team, and it's hard to play because you got 15 minutes against a guy who knows this line through and through. What are you going to do? Well, you're going to do what Zhao's done. He's used half his time already. Wesley So has double Zhao's time. Robert, how would you handle this with white?
Well, white's not having a very good game thus far, and I think that it might not be manageable to handle. I think Wesley So has a really large advantage on the board, and of course we see on the clock. He just made a great decision. Bishop takes f3, forcing pawn takes f3, and now the white king is very vulnerable. With the time advantage that he has, mixing things up is a great idea. And not only is it mixing up, it's a great move. Knight to e5 looks like a nice try. Putting your piece in the center, putting pressure on the pawn on f3, and just no white pieces on the king side to protect the open king.
Lawrence, what do you make of the computer statistics there, giving Wesley So a 79% chance of winning?
Well, I mean, it's clear that he's much better now. Zhao went wrong. He's managed to double these pawns on the king's side. The king is now permanently weak. He's got this bishop, this Loch Ness monster lurking in the mist, in the swamp there on b8, and it's ready to pop out at any moment down that diagonal. The queen can swing across. You can even get rooks up there. You've got the two knights. The potential for the attack is just brilliant. And you know what? Playing this position with white is absolutely disgusting. I would hate to play this. You're almost bereft of moves. Where did he go? I think he's just...
B3.
He went queen b3, Lawrence, and the reason why was bishop e2, which looks like the natural response, loses a pawn after knight takes f3 check. After the bishop recaptures,
right.
Black simply takes on b5, up a pawn, great bishop on b8, that'd be pretty much end of story. But queen b3 doesn't help matters at all either. I think that he's really trying his best to make things complicated, but perhaps a move like pawn to a6, it looks like a very natural response, and it looks like Black's doing incredibly well.
He might even have a better move here, ladies and gentlemen. It might already be game over. Actually, just looking at it, I think if he plays the move queen c6, there you go. I think that's the bookender right there. That's game over. You can't defend this f3 pawn, because if you go bishop to e2, which looks like the logical move, if you put bishop e2 on the board, what do you do after just hitting that knight? Where does that knight go? If it drops back to c3, it actually blocks the defense of that f3 pawn. Is that game over, guys?
It definitely looks like game over. It's amazing that Zhao went down without a fight. Like, he played a very bad game. Maybe it's the nerves that you were talking about, Ariane, playing Wesley So, who's more experienced despite being younger at that elite level. It just, if this occurs on the board, I mean, this is just all over. Zhao knows his chances, well, they just are non-existent.
Well, that's the thing, with 15 minutes, these quick games, you need to know your opening. You need to have your opening set out straight, and you need to blitz those first few moves, intimidate your opponent, know exactly what's going on. And Wesley clearly showed his superiority with opening preparation here. And queen c6, obviously the computers, I can see over there, Lawrence, that they're going a bit crazy for Black now.
Well, I haven't even looked, if I'm honest, behind me. I'm just looking at the position. It just looked like the logical move. Hit the weak point in the position. And if bishop e2, a6, maybe even c4. Actually, what do you do against c4? c4, just distracting the queen away from the defense of f3 and b5. That looks like game over as well. My instinct tells me that this is completely gone.
Well, you don't need much instinct here, Lawrence. The computer's giving 100% chance for black to win. Maybe that's a bit much, but just look at the times.
Yeah, but we've seen that anything can happen in this Millionaire Monday. Ray Robson had 0% chance of winning, and guess what? He beat you last round. So, you know, it's
Yeah, but I think that Wesley So, you know, he's such a calm player. He's got the experience. He's got class. You know, he's not going to crumble under the pressure now. And look at that. He has more than double the time of his opponent. Zhou down to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And Wesley So sitting there with the black pieces, much better at over 10 minutes, 11 minutes and 14 seconds. There you go. And look at him. He's just calm. He knows that this is in the bag. And he didn't have to try very hard, did he?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't think it's a matter of class. I think Yangyi Yu is a very classy, strong player, but I think it's just that the position is so simple. Zhao really hasn't done anything right this game. Precisely nothing, to be honest. He's done everything that you can do wrong, he's done. So he has 0% chance to win this game, and I think he might even have negative chance to win this game because he deserves to lose 2 points for this one.
Lawrence, what do you think it is? That Zhao fell on his sword, or it's just a matter of being outclassed?
Well, he's been outclassed in the sense that, I mentioned this at the top of the show, the elite are that well prepared in the opening, and I'm absolutely sure that Wesley, in his notes, he's got this move c5, slightly more ambitious, got this move e5, but this move c5 means that your opponent can go wrong a lot more often, and he thought he'd take the risk with that. Xiao erred, and he's just wrote, that's it, he's resigned, the game is over, and it's just a perfect display by Wesley, and it's what his coaches want, it's what he would have wanted. Now he needs only a draw with white. You've just got a lump on him. Huge favourite going into the final. Well done, Wesley.
That was just too easy with the black pieces.
19 moves, that's a beating. I mean, that's a mauling.
That's right. And for our viewers out there, to explain to them, Robert, why did Zhao resign in this position?
Well, Zhao resigned because his position has no hope whatsoever. The pawn on f3 in that game was incredibly vulnerable, and it was impossible to protect it. The real issue is after bishop to e2, which looks like you defend this pawn f3, multiple moves win instantly. Pawn to a6 is good enough. The knight has only one safe retreat square to c3, and after knight takes f3 check, well, you have to capture, and after queen takes, we see this bishop hitting the pawn on h2, no development whatsoever. The knight comes into g4, and that's good night. So it was the proper time to resign. He had 0 chance, as the statistics backed up too. So really poor showing for white.
That's right. Here he is, man of the hour, Wesley So, looking very happy, talking to his coaches there. He's just going to chill out a bit and wait for the white pieces for the second round of the first tiebreak, where all he needs is a draw. We are going to be back at 2:45 p.m. Pacific time, which is just in a few minutes. Just to remind everybody, Wesley So beat Chinese Grandmaster Zhao Jianchao with black very easily in 19 moves, total crushing, totally outclassing his opponent. And he's going to be back very shortly at 2:45, hoping for a draw with the white pieces. Don't go away. We'll see you very shortly.
Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Grandmaster Maurice Ashley. This is the Millionaire Chess Open.
Welcome back to the tiebreak round between Grandmaster Wesley So from the Philippines against Chinese Grandmaster Zhao Jianchao. Wesley has won the first game of the tiebreak, which means 15 minutes each. And now all he needs is a draw. Robert, your thoughts?
Yeah, he's the very, very, very clear favorite here. I would say that his chances of going on are somewhere above 80–90%. The chances that he loses with the white pieces against Zhao is just, I just don't think it's going to happen. All he needs is a draw. Zhao's going to have to take risks, which is against his style. I think Wesley So is a sure favorite and will definitely move on to the final.
Definitely, and this is how it matches up here. Tiebreaker round 2, 15 minutes each. And the odds of winning, the computer's giving it 81% for So. I don't think he's going to win. I think he's just going to play for a nice, solid draw here. What are your thoughts on his choice, his strategy on how to approach this game? Because as we saw in the last round, he is so well prepared, Wesley So, and he knows exactly what he's doing in the opening, and I think with white, it's going to be no exception.
Yeah, definitely. His preparation is very strong, and he's not going to play for a draw either. He knows what it's like to be in front of a tournament, to have a lead, and it's very dangerous, as we've noted, to play for a draw because it changes your objective stance on the game. So he's just to play his normal openings. He said, you know what? You're my opponent. You're going to have to take a risk. I want to see what you have to show. He doesn't have to prove anything. He won the first game, so he'll just be calm.
Definitely. He is probably looking forward to the final, who, let's remind the viewers, Robson earlier won his tiebreak game against Grandmaster from China, Yangyi. And it seems that Wesley's just looking forward to that. You get to play a friend in the final. It's kind of win-win. You've just turned 21. You've basically got 100K in the bag, or 50K. And it's looking good for him. They'll probably go out on the town. Both of them, young guys. There we see young Wesley So, just turned 21 a few days ago, and Jianchao coming up to the board to face him with the black pieces. We have 15 minutes aside, as I said earlier, and if this game loses for Wesley, then what's going to happen there?
Well, if Wesley loses, they're going to be tied 1-1, which means that they'll have further tie breaks, which in this case are 5-minute blitz matches with a 2-second delay. That is very fast-paced chess. It would be very exciting, but just look at Wesley So. He's not going to lose this game. Zhao is trying to be calm, but it's not the same as he was before. Earlier, he looked stoic. He looked very calm, very confident, but now he looks a little bit nervous.
You think he's just accepting his fate?
I don't think he's accepting his fate. He's just trying to make sure that he has some chance, but he knows that he's playing a very talented number 10 player in the world. And, well, let's just be honest. Wesley So is greatly favored, even if he weren't up 1-0 here.
Yes, that's right. And Jianchao, in terms of opening choices, Wesley these days, he's a bit of a D4 player. Is that right?
Yeah, and I would definitely play D4. Usually get more positional battles, kind of slower pace game, not really as many tactics. So he doesn't have to worry about his opponent coming up with something crazy to beat him. But for Zhao, that gives him a longer time to play. If he can actually move quickly, which he's been struggling with, he's been moving very slowly. Wesley has a huge time advantage. So if Zhao can quicken his pace, then maybe he'll be able to compete. But again, it's a huge uphill battle.
That's right. We have exactly 60 seconds countdown until the clock starts and Wesley makes his first move. I'm betting on a D4 start. I'm not familiar with Jianchao's play. Robert, have you ever played this guy before?
No, I've never had the luxury of playing either of these two players. I mean, it would be a complete pleasure just based on how they're playing. They're so dynamic. They fight so hard, fierce competitors. But no, I've not played the Chinese Grandmaster before, though I have seen a lot of his games. And, again, I can't even predict what he'll play because he needs to do something outside the box. He needs to surprise Wesley, come up with something new, really try to be creative in order to win. But
well, he's definitely wearing the shirt for that. In Chinese culture, the red is extremely important. It's a lucky color. Let's see if it brings him any luck in this game. Clocks have started. Wesley, what are you going to play?
Well, we're waiting for Wesley to make his. And
D4,
there's D4,
here we go.
As you said. Well, it's interesting. Zhao's probably thinking, what strategy should I employ? Not what first move. Of course, he knows he can make any first move. He's a talented grandmaster, but it's all about the strategy. He needs to come up with a long-term plan. And he plays Knight F6, and he plays B6. Already something that's not exactly at this stage in the game the most accurate or the most typical. So he's going outside the box, hoping that he can surprise
I think he's
Wesley.
trying to avoid a lot of the main lines because he knows that Wesley is probably more prepared than he is and can probably, if he goes for, say, a Grunfeld or anything spectacular like that, Wesley might find a force variation and things will fizzle out into a draw. As we can see here, he's chosen slightly offbeat line. And I gotta say, if Wesley plays solidly, Zhao is just gonna be stuck there without much to do. But then again, it's still very early days. Wesley has just played E4, if that's correct, on the live position there. Knight C3, B takes C3, and E6. So I think we can all agree that this is a slightly better position for white, probably quite easy for Wesley to play.
Yeah, it's a very typical opening advantage for white. You have a great center. You see the pawns on d4 and e4. You're developed nicely. Bishop b5 check is a nice move to close in that bishop on b7 because of the pawn on c6. Eventually, white, being Wesley, will go e5, attack the pawn on h7, and he's just playing simple chess. He needs not take any risk. And you know what? His position is good. He's good. You know what? His result will be good as well.
Absolutely zero threat to Wesley So here in the opening, causing him absolutely no problems. This is going to be very easy for the young Filipino grandmaster to play. Taking a sip of his water, he's chilled out. Can we have a look at the clocks? Let's see how times are going. I would guess here that the Chinese grandmaster is spending, no, there we go, equal. I would have thought he's spending a little bit more time, and he's probably getting into a bit of a think now, because we've got to remind the viewers that these players have had no time at all to prepare. So a lot of the thinking is done minutes, seconds before the first move, and right now on the board. No time to prepare, no time to prepare your repertoire.
Yeah, they're really all on the fly right now. Like you said, it's very important to know that they didn't have time to prepare. So Wesley So, you know, he came to this game. Both players just had a quick rest very briefly after Wesley So dominated his opponent in the first game. And look at Zhou over here. He's really thinking hard, how am I going to mix this up? We saw his compatriot Yangyi attempted against Robson. He failed because Ray played excellent chess. But here we see Xiao thinking very, very hard. He'll try to be diligent in his efforts. But right now in this position, it's very simple to play for white.
Right. Well, Lawrence, what are your thoughts on this opening position and the outcome for Wesley here?
Well, I mean, the opening's gone pretty well for Wesley, hasn't it? Let's face it. He's got a very decent position. Slightly surprised by Zhao's choice, actually. Yes, he wants to do something offbeat, but he's gone for an offbeat system which is actually a bit passive and is known to be passive. It's not a losing attempt or anything like that, don't get me wrong, but it's just not the most, let's say, attacking or aggressive option he could have chosen. So I am slightly surprised by that. That said, you know, yes, the position is easy for white to play. Yes, Wesley is nominally better already, but there's still a long way to go. And maybe Zhao's idea, his strategy, is to run the time down for both players. Maybe he wants it to be a bit of a brawl, you know, a bit of a...
Lawrence, it looks like his time is running down.
Yeah, he's having a think, but he needs to think of a way that he's not going to be just blown off the board. His position's slightly inferior. So, you know, 2 minutes, yes, he's using a bit of time, but maybe he just needs to get it into a scrap, a street fight.
Well, it is so tough here coming into this tiebreaker with the black pieces against number 10 in the world, when you know he's far better prepared than you and you are in a must-win situation. That must be so difficult. And of course, the question is, you know, how do you start off the game when you got no time to prepare? And clearly, he's chosen an offbeat line that, unfortunately for him, has caused no problems for Wesley. And this game looks slightly better for white, easy to play for white. And as we can see, Zhao there in the camera, still thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Zhao is going to continue to think until he finds something that works in his favor, which might take forever because the position does not favor him at all. White is better developed, has an easy play, whereas black is very cramped. Okay, that move, knight d7, I would have made that move pretty quickly because it looks like the most natural, most obvious move. And Wesley So, very calm, very cool, simply moves his pawn up the board. He's gaining space. He knows he's the better position. He knows probably as well that, you know, he's the better player, but he did express some fear. He said, I don't want to play the Chinese grandmasters because in quick time control, they're very talented. His reservations were made very clear to us, but you know what? Maybe he didn't need to be worried at all, and maybe it doesn't matter who he plays because he is the strongest player in this event.
That's right, and Wesley So outclassing them all here in the Millionaire Chess Open. Let's take a look at the world rankings and how he has broken into the top 10. There he is with his latest win in the Millionaire Chess Open in the live ratings has taken him from 11th to 10th spot. He gained 7 points at the Millionaire Chess Open, and he is just behind America's #1 Hikaru Nakamura, America's current #1 player, but he better watch out because So is right behind him. As we see there, Wesley is now 27-62, breaking into the top 10 with such panache. Now let's look at this position on the board. We have a couple of moves that have happened. Lawrence, I believe your feed is up. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, it's a really interesting moment. We have this position here on the board where Black has played this very committal idea of pushing the C and E pawns, meaning that he's given this white pawn, a protected pass pawn, in the center. Now, normally that's a good thing. At the same time, though, the thing that's going in Zhao's favor is that these bishops, which normally love the open diagonals, are now temporarily locked in. So I think Zhao's strategy, as I mentioned before, he needs it to be a long game. He needs to just test Wesley. He's a bit down on the clock already, 4 minutes. He needs to play a lot more quickly. What he'd love to do here is get this knight, move it up 1 square. It takes a while to get there. If he got the knight there, it's a perfect place for him. But you have to say that Wesley's in a real good position at the moment. And I like what he's just done as well. He's just played these simple moves, pawn to g3, and Black's got a lot of shuffling around to do if he's going to make anything of this game.
Well, Robert, you have the position now on your screen. What are your thoughts on Black's chances to hold Wesley down to another tiebreak?
Well, Black needs to win this game, and we've talked about this in previous games. This d6 square is vital, and Black needs to just somehow move that knight 1 square forward onto d6, put the pawn on f6, and then slowly make progress. But White's spatial advantage is huge, as you see by the statistics on the screen.
It's a bit much, though.
It is a bit much, especially because of the mindset Wesley So is in. He doesn't need to win. So even if his position is better, and in a classical game when he's, there's just, you play for whatever result happens, he is much better. 78%, yeah, a bit much for sure. But he's definitely favored. I would give him still it's a good 70% odds, and it's very easy for White to play, very, very difficult for Black to make progress.
That's right, and let's remind everyone that Grandmaster Ray Robson from the United States, he's just probably sitting in his hotel room now watching this game out, play out, and he's got time now, hasn't he, Lawrence, to think about his finals. It's clear, well, pretty much clear, seeing if this game continues the way it's going, that he's going to face his friend and fellow university student Wesley So in the finals. He's probably just resting up, thinking about the next game, preparing. How would you, prepare for a tiebreak with Wesley So, Lawrence?
Well, the result's not done yet, but judging by the position and the way things are going, I'd start to get the laptop out just about now because, again, it's looking very, very likely. In terms of preparing for him, obviously, you're going to have to choose wisely in the opening. We've seen already how Wesley can punish you with both colors. In the first game of this matchup with Xiao, he crushed Zhou. I mean, really crushed him with Black in 19 moves. So you've got to be very, very clever when it comes to the opening phase. But also, I wouldn't overdo it if I were Ray. A lot of people make the big mistake of preparing too much with the computer before the game. They arrive, they're tired, and they can't put in their best performance. So if I were Ray, I would use it in moderation, get some rest, get some food, and we'll see. But it does look like Wesley, he's increasing his advantage on the board. I have to say, I'm not a fan of Black's position whatsoever. I don't know about you, Robert.
Yeah, I agree with you. Black's position is very tough. He has created some dynamic chances, though. He's cramped in, but if I were White, I would just make sure the position is passive. It's like a pacified the position very quickly. Make sure that Black has no threats. For example, White can eventually make this move pawn to f5, closing in the bishop on c8, meaning that Black really has no active chances.
Yes, Robert. F5 looks very dangerous for Zhao Jianchao there. F5 with the idea of advancing the other pawns on the king side. Is that right?
Yeah, that's one idea. He doesn't even need to do that because all he needs is to draw.
That's right.
In a game when you're playing to win, definitely, I agree with you, Ariane. The queen could sweep over to g2 with the pawn on f5. You can then start pushing this pawn as well and create a monster attack. But because you don't need to win, the burden of proof is entirely on Zhao. And realistically, Zhao can just move his pieces back and forth and really just be hopeful and not have anything practical on the board.
Well, Robert, let's say you're Ray Robson looking at this position now in your hotel room. Are you going to take a nap or are you going to get the laptop out?
Oh, well, I think that Lawrence makes a good point. You can't just get the laptop out because it creates a problem when you start overdoing it. When you're preparing so much for a very quick time control, it really hurts your chances. Your preparation generally won't come into play. It won't turn up. Well, everything you look at in your computer will not be there on the board. So Ray should just take some rest because he also has a psychological issue because if Wesley wins, that's one of his close friends. His former roommate at Webster, his good buddy, they play chess together all the time, they have the same coach. That's not an easy pairing whatsoever.
Yes, and I'd like to point out the time differentials, it's growing. That margin is growing, and so are the computer statistics there. Was just at 90% a second ago, still 89%. This is looking good for Wesley. What's your take, Lawrence?
It's looking better than good. It's looking great. Zhao, he tried a little something. You got to do that sometimes, but this time it really did. He tried this b5 move. It's an illusion, really. It doesn't do anything. He just lost a pawn, actually. And so Wesley's now a pawn up. Wesley snapped it off. He took the pawn on f4, trying to open up some lines. But after bishop takes f4, I think, I'm struggling to find even a plan here, which is why Xiao is under 7 minutes. He's shaking his head. Slightly, this is the first time I've been really disappointed in him. I think his opening choice was quite a negative one. I think it was the wrong one. I think he had to do something offbeat, but not so offbeat to be just that much worse. So, but then again, he's going to play the playoff perhaps against you, his compatriot. And there's still $25,000 up for grabs, so he's got to collect himself because I really don't see any other result but a Wesley So victory.
Yeah, you got to, if you're sitting in his chair right now, you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is probably over. Let's think practically about the rest of the day because it's not over in terms of money. It's Millionaire Monday, which means that you're still playing for a third or fourth, which is still a significant amount of money. So, where's the balance where you just throw in the towel, okay, this is over, let's prepare for beating up Yangyi in the in the finals. Let's remind people, actually, how much money these players are playing for. The open section, we have the champion walking away with $100,000, second place $50,000, third place $25,000, and fourth place $14,000. So, if you're Zhou sitting there now, you are clearly much worse with the black pieces. You don't have much chance to go into another tiebreak. When do you stop thinking, Robert, about this game and start mentally preparing yourself, gearing up for playing off for third or fourth place?
Yeah, I don't think you should give up just yet. The position is bad, but he also had a terrible position against Rauf Mamedov in round 7 that allowed him to sneak into the tiebreak and try to qualify for Millionaire Monday. He's had bad positions before. He's fought hard. He's come back. He just is a fighter. Last game was terrible. He lost to Wesley So in that first one with the white pieces. Didn't even put up a fight. But he's trying to come back in this one. He's fighting well, but it really isn't meant to be.
Right. Lawrence, what are your thoughts?
No, yeah, just again to mirror what Robert's sentiment there, I think it's a very important lesson for everybody that just because you might have a bad position doesn't mean you have to give up. I certainly don't think, Ariane, he should be thinking about the quarterfinals already.
You got to admit, you're sitting there and you have to be thinking about the quarterfinals.
Well, what does it matter if you think about the quarterfinals? You've got a game in front of you. It's not like he's got checkmate on the board.
But it's distracting you, because at the back of your mind, you know that you have to still play. You can't just lose this game and walk home. You know that you still have a match to play, a very tough one, I might add.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows he's got a match to play, but that doesn't change whether he wins, draws, or loses this game. He's not going to win it. But you don't just throw in the towel here.
But Lawrence, we're talking about mental discipline. That's where you separate the really strong players and the weaker grandmasters. You got to have mental strength because whether you like it or not, sure, we all like to fight, and of course we all want to think of ourselves as fighters. We're chess players. We fight until the end, until that score sheet is signed. But at the back of your mind, you're sitting there thinking, time is ticking, you know you have another match surely some part of your mental energy is focused on what's coming up.
Well, the point is that you know, you've still got a position. You're only a bit worse, really. I mean, yes, you're a pawn down. It's not as if, as I said, if checkmate were on the board, I would agree with you, Ariane. I'd think, right, okay, let's just call this a day. There's no point wasting more energy. It's still a reasonably, I mean, you can't really defend this pawn on f4, for example. Black's going to play knight h5. It's slightly tricky to actually defend this in a lot of lines. And this bishop along the diagonal. So it's far from over, and I think it would be an incorrect psychology to start thinking about the next game when we've already seen, Ariane, look at what Robson did. He was totally busted against Yangyi. I'm sure he wasn't thinking about the following game. He was thinking about defending that position, and look what happened. He concentrated, and he actually won the game. So I think it's very important to keep focused on the task at hand. Remember, it's not over just yet. And then, okay, if he ends up losing, then he can start thinking about the following match. But at the moment, and he's just played the move Queen c4, which isn't actually a very good move in this position. So it just goes to show you've got to keep your mind on the task at hand. He's got 5 minutes left. Don't think game by game. Always focus game by game. This is what they always teach you in chess. Don't think about future games. Think about the one that's on the board. And he's played knight d7. Okay.
Well, Lawrence, if I interject for a second here, I agree with you in principle that he shouldn't give up, and I think he just missed a good chance.
Yeah,
he moved knight to d7, but in the position, queen d6 looked like an excellent opportunity.
Yeah.
This bishop on b7 is staring at that king on h1. If you make a random move, let's say pawn to a4, now all of a sudden knight takes d5 is very powerful. Pawn takes d5 loses immediately to bishop takes d5 check, hitting the queen and the king on h1. So he had an opportunity to create a threat, and after if we go back a few moves to queen d6, knight f3 looks like the only plan, but still, I'm afraid of this diagonal. This pawn on f4 is under attack. Knight to d7 just isn't the optimal move, and I'm not sure what he was thinking there.
Well, it looks like the nerves are getting the better of Zhou Jianchao. Clearly, knight d7 is slightly more passive than your find, Robert. Queen d6. What is the idea of this move? Does he want to play f5 or something like that?
Yeah, f5 actually is a pretty interesting plan because when you start going f5, you'll be going to chisel at white's very nice pawn center. And again, black's chances rely heavily on this bishop on b7. If you can crack white's pawn structure and that bishop gains an open diagonal, well, the white king stuck there on h1 could be in grave danger. Another idea is to move that knight to b6 and attack the queen on c4, putting potential sacrifice at d5. We saw in Zhao's 7th round game, he sacrificed on that square, so Wesley So has to be on the lookout.
That's right, and we can see Wesley, he had a clear double time advantage just a few minutes ago, sorry. And now he's starting to think, you know, Lawrence, I think that, yes, he's much better, as we've said, and the computers say 86%. I think that's a bit much, but still, he's on his way to victory if he keeps concentrating and playing well. But I think that Zhao has set up some slight problems for him.
Well, he has, and this is the point, just going back to what we were saying, Aaron, you can't give up. The game isn't over yet. It's not so decisive to just throw in the towel. And this queen c4 move, I have to say, is probably Wesley's worst move of the tournament. It's a dreadful move. Doesn't really do anything. The queen can get hit on this diagonal, as you mentioned before, Robert, with queen d6 and knight takes d5. Yes, he missed that opportunity. Knight d7 isn't a bad move, though. It's, in principle, actually strategically desired because you threaten this f5 push, weakening the d5 pawn. You also have this knight b6 idea, as you mentioned. So, actually, it's a missed opportunity, in inverted commas, but Wesley, maybe he's starting to feel the pressure. Look, he's starting to think for a number of minutes now. He's got the hand on the, look at how his body language is changing. He's not as happy before because practically speaking, although he might be better, this position, when you look at all of these different threats that black has, is tricky.
Yeah, Lawrence, I have to agree with you. It is very, very, very tricky. And he can't even think of a move right now. I spent a lot of time at this moment. The threats of f5, knight b6, if you look at the arrows there, it's hard to suggest a great move for white. The king on h1 is stuck there, so maybe even a move like pawn to h3 to give your king some space to get off the diagonal, but that looks awfully slow.
Yeah, Robert, this might sound like a stupid question, but with all those threats that you have pointed out, f5, knight b6, opening up that bishop on b7, and seeing that Wesley just wants a draw, Is it possible to play a move like f5, not now, at some point? Clearly not very good for the positional players out there, looking at all those black squares that you make weak. But f5 would blunt the idea of black's f5, and perhaps if we can exchange some pieces, the bishop on b7 won't be looking at much.
Yeah, f5 actually looks like a great chance of trying to solidify your position, make sure you don't fall for tactics, and help your chances in making a draw. I'm still concerned after the move f5 of knight to b6. There's always this sacrifice on this really critical d5 square, and again, that bishop on b7, if that can get opened up, if you unleash the beast, well, black could have a great position and a nice chance to win.
Well, we can see on the camera there that Wesley has made a move. If we can get a shot there.
He did go f5, and he went knight b6 immediately. So
he did play f5.
He did play f5, and he really has to be careful now about the sacrifice on the d5 square. It is essential that he doesn't. He moves queen back to c1. So my first instinct is to go knight takes d5 right now. I haven't done all the calculation required, and Zhou has not that much time, so he better get thinking right now.
Maybe this is a good time to switch to Lawrence. What does the machine say?
Well, f5 was the recommended move by the machine, but again, the machines can defend a lot better than humans. And if you're sitting in Wesley So's seat right now, and you see knight takes d5 on the board, followed by, for example, if we can put that up there for a second, we've got this move, knight takes d5, just giving up that knight, blowing open the position. Pawn takes knight, bishop takes pawn with check. The only move is to play knight to f3. Now you can think about playing this c4 move. You're going to get your queen on the diagonal as well. And I start to get a bit of squeaky bum time if I were Wesley. I wouldn't be particularly happy at all.
Right, and the clocks clearly are showing that slightly, smaller differential there on the times.
He's got to do it. He's got to play this move, knight takes d5. We saw something similar earlier in the tournament, actually, with a similar kind of piece sacrifice. It was the Ralph Mamedov game, if you remember, guys. And he did something, and he came through. Or rather, he's a compatriot, I believe it was at the time.
No, it was Zhou.
It was Xiao, I beg your pardon. It was Xiao. He came through, he played the practical. I think he's going to do it. I'm pretty sure he's going to play this knight takes pawn in the middle. It causes practical problems. Wesley will have to think.
Is that the only move that causes some problems, or are there other options like c4?
Yeah, you can try c4 first. I think it equates to the same thing. But if you don't do something on d5, you never are. And White can just play knight f3, get his king a bit more safe. So yeah, if you're going to do it, it's either after c4 or right now.
Well, it's now or never for Zhou, because he's not going to get another chance to get into a tiebreaker, is he?
Yeah, and I don't really understand why he's thinking. In a blitz game, which is now boiled down to, he's now under 3 minutes, and it will be a complex battle. He has great compensation for the knight. If he goes knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, bishop takes d5 check, knight f3 only move, and it's a very unclear position. Both sides have great chances. I like black's position. He's active. The king on h1 is very weak. This bishop is the single best piece on the board, but taking all this time right now for a very obvious sacrifice when you have to win doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever.
Yes, he's dwindling down those 2 minutes. I mean, he's reaching 2 minutes now. I think that's a bit too much time to make such a, yes, it's a big decision. It's a critical position. But when you're such a strong grandmaster, I'd guess that these things are pretty intuitive.
Yeah, definitely intuitive, but maybe he's found something else that we're not seeing. If we go back to the game position, instead of this knight sacrifice on d5, maybe he's just trying to go c4, and if the bishop retreats, let's say to c2, then the queen comes up to c5.
He's played knight d5, I think.
Yeah, he has.
Yes,
so
he
has gone with the sacrifice. Knight takes d5, pawn takes, bishop takes. And, he really took way too much time. This is pretty obvious. Knight f3 played instantly, and it's very complex, but now pieces are being traded off, and if Wesley So can keep his king safe, well, he's up a knight over here, and it looks like he's going to win.
Lawrence, what does the machine say?
Well, we had some more moves quickly there. Rook takes e1, queen takes e1, queen f4. So the queen now in the heart of the action, getting busy with the other boys. And I tell you what, This is extremely difficult to play for white. The machines love these positions. They can find the only moves. But it's white the one who has to do that. And you're human. You've got 6 minutes left. You try and tell me a move that looks really good here for white. I'm struggling to find one. Black's plan is easy. He's threatening bishop takes f3. Let's address that first. How are we going to defend that knight?
Can white play queen g3?
Yeah, you can play queen g3, but then what are you going to do against queen to e3? This is the problem. Suddenly I'm now hitting this bishop. I maintain all of the pressure. I'm ready to bring my c-pawn down the board. My rook's coming into the game via e8. And you're not out of the pin. You're pinned up. You're tied up. And this is why I wish he would have just played this 2 minutes ago, because then I think it would have been a really interesting battle. With 1 minute 47, yeah, he should have gone with his gut. A bit like in poker, sometimes you go with your gut, you go with your instinct. In chess, it's the same. Knight takes d5, it was the gut move. He saw it, but he's dwindled, and he's going to have to play amazingly if he's going to still win this game.
Well, let's say that they go for this variation. Let's say white just plays bishop b1 here. How would black continue the pressure?
Yeah, I suppose you just move your rook into the game, rook e8, and say, hey, it's back to you, white. What are you doing?
Right, so you're saying that Wesley's pieces are a little bit tied up for now.
Well, they're totally tied up, aren't they? I mean, look at the knight. It can't move. You can't move the rook. You can't move the bishop. You've got this c-pawn to worry about.
Yeah.
I think this might even be full compensation.
Wow, what a turn of events we have here. If Jianchao manages to win this, we will go into another tiebreak with 5-minute games. Very exciting. Of course, that's what we want, but Wesley So is hoping to secure a draw. Robert, play us through the emotions that he's feeling right now?
Well, Wesley just made his move king to g2, a move that I find very scary. The king now is into the action, protecting knight on f3. But if this queen on e1 is distracted, let's just throw in some random moves like h6 and queen out to c3, well, then queen g4 check is incredibly powerful. It makes sure that you win this knight on f3 because two pieces will attack and the king has nowhere to go to defend it. So white has to now be very vigilant of this idea with queen g4 check. But I agree with Lawrence. Black could not afford to spend so much time on that knight sacrifice. If he had made that move instantly, then perhaps the time of the clock would have been switched sides.
And he's still thinking, he's going down in 1 minute now.
He's going down to 1 minute, and he had the opportunity. Wow, g5, what a move. Look at this, pawn to g4 is a huge threat, and if pawn takes g6, well, perhaps he can now take with his pawn, and as we see, the rook comes in the action, the pressure on f3 is quite intense.
Definitely very enterprising play by the Chinese Grandmaster Lawrence.
He's got 1:10, but I tell you what, he's got a heart of gold, this guy. G5 is a brilliant move, the top move suggested by the machines, and an unexpected one. You never really see those kind of moves coming, even if you're Wesley So. And now he's got a real decision to make. He's got a lot of pressure on this knight. I don't know how Wesley's going to react after G5, but it's a great move given the situation. It was his only try. And if you're Wesley, you're going to spend a couple of minutes here because, if you take this pawn off, allow this file to open up, you might end up losing the game. So you actually have to calculate. I reckon he's going to get down below 3 minutes. He's going to spend at least 1 minute on this move because f takes g6 is the critical decision of the game.
And I would guess that the statistics there that we see on screen, 85% winning chances for white. The machine is giving this simply because of the material imbalance here, but practically playing with 3 minutes, 1 minute on the clock. This is extremely difficult for white to play, isn't it, Robert?
Oh, it definitely is. And after Xiao missed his chance with queen d6 earlier, he's really fought well. It's very nerve-wracking position to have. The king is unsafe, and if you look, with every move being made, the advantage is getting smaller
That's
and
right.
smaller. And he's retreating his pieces, bishop e2. If I'm black, rook f5 looks incredibly powerful. Rook f5, if queen g3, you hit him with rook to g5. The knight is pinned. If you take with the rook, simply queen takes g5 would be game over. So this is getting exciting. But instead, after bishop e2, he decided to go g5. Well, he went it once before, why not again? And after g4 is the crucial threat. It looks very difficult for white here, and he's losing time, but again, it's very unclear position.
Yes, let's see if this Wesley So can keep it together. I think he can, but with those times looking the way it is, it's getting increasingly hard. I think there have been some inaccuracies here on behalf of Zhou because the statistics have just gone up for Wesley. Over to you, Lawrence.
Yeah, unfortunately for Wesley, it looks as though, rather, not unfortunately for Wesley, fortunately for Wesley, unfortunately for Xiao, looks as though he's gone a bit wrong. It was tough to make the real precise moves with such few time. He's got 45 seconds left. He's got G4 on the board. Check is on the board. He has to move the king. I don't know what he's waiting for. Come on. He's got 38 seconds. What's he waiting for? Check is on the board. I don't understand why he's not.
I think he recognized that he's now completely lost. The idea is that the king G8, simply knight E5, there's no longer this pin on this diagonal.
Yep.
And once I trade rooks, it's end of story. You don't have enough pieces to attack me. I'm up a minor piece. That would spell game over. And it just goes back to that move when he spent so many minutes for a very obvious sacrifice, and he wasted precious time. The clock situation could have been reversed if he'd made that move much sooner.
No, 14 seconds left. That's
14 seconds, and Wesley will definitely see knight e5. I think we're going to see a shake of hands very soon. Come on, Wesley. We are waiting for this move, knight e5, because you know what? If he doesn't, who knows what could happen. But with 14 seconds on the clock, really, I don't think that Zhou has much of a chance here.
And he played knight e5, which is just the move that shuts down all of Black's hope. The rook on f8 will be traded. You can't stop it because your queen's under attack. The queen is nowhere good to go, and he's going to lose on time, I think. You know, he's thinking about the position. He realized he's lost, and 3, 2, 1. Oh,
Here
he resigned.
We go. And we have a finalist, Wesley So, winning that match against Jianchao. The young Filipino grandmaster is through to the finals of Millionaire Monday, playing for that $100,000 prize. He must be feeling ecstatic because, you know, that was just a little bit too easy.
Well, that was actually a really great battle. I don't know. The first game was very easy. That game was incredibly difficult. It was very nervous, very tense. And look at Wesley. He's very relieved right now because he knew at some point he was in danger. He just kind of, look at his face, he's smiling. He understands that if Xiao had just found a few more accurate moves, well, Wesley could have been in danger. And look at him. He's getting the support from his teammates from Webster, his coach, Susan Polgar, and everyone is kind of rooting for Wesley. And he looks a lot more relaxed, but now the battle ensues. He's playing his very good friend, the very strong Grandmaster Ray Robson, and that's going to be a battle of epic proportions.
And as we see on the screen there, former world champion Grandmaster Susan Polgar must be extremely satisfied. 2 of her students into the finals of the Millionaire Chess Open. Lawrence, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, Wesley, we saw again how all chess players are human. He played this move, Queen C4. He started to lose the plot a bit, but he showed his class, stayed calm. Xiao missed his chance, and he went through. So it's great news for Wesley, great news for Webster as well. I mean, we got 2 guys studying at the university in the final of this prestigious tournament. So Susan's going to be delighted, speaks volumes about their training program, and look at him there approaching his colleague. Ray's actually come out, I suppose, to support him very much. Maurice Ashley, the tournament director there. His opponent in the next round, Ray, who we obviously spoke to earlier, and I believe he's going to be coming
his way to talk to us. We are very excited to see him. The 2 finalists, as we can see there in the camera. Now, Lawrence, take us through what's going to happen in the finals while we get set up here with Wesley.
Well, the finals, we've got it clear. Wesley So versus Ray Robson. They are going to be fighting it out in just a short while. They're going to be playing the same format as we saw at the beginning of these semi-finals. They start with a 25-minute game. If that is tied after 2 games, obviously they have white and black each. They play what we just saw, a 15-minute game, and the coverage will begin at around 4:30. I can't wait. It's going to be great. Both of these guys, well, they deserve a lot of credit, don't they? Wesley for showing his class, never been in real danger in the tournament, but Ray also for showing that he's a fighter. And you've got to fight to get to the finals. Sometimes you can't always have it your way. And it's going to be a really interesting mix of styles, actually. Ray, very aggressive player, very tactical. Wesley, we've seen, he likes to eke out these small advantages. So clash of styles, clash of personalities. Can't wait.
Lawrence, we are here with the finalist, Grandmaster Wesley So from the Philippines. You seem to have just sailed through that match. Take us through it.
With my match against Jianchao. Well, I realized that he had a higher rapid feeder rating than me. I looked this morning, he had a bit higher. So I was trying to just play solid. Obviously, this is a knockout match, so my main goal is not to lose any games. Which is a good idea.
Well, that's what we were saying. We were saying, I don't think Wesley So is going to go for it gung-ho because he's just going to solid position with black, press with white.
Yeah, exactly. And just getting the chances that what my opponent gives me, even if I'm black. But my main concern is just to avoid losing and just to play solid chess.
Well, it's definitely worked for you, and I remember having you here yesterday, and you said, I don't want any Chinese players in the final. Well, two of them have gone, so you must be ecstatic, and you're playing your friend in the final in just a few hours. How are you feeling about playing him?
Well, excited. I'm also very happy that we both reached the finals. He's my teammate, and we're close friends. We've been rooming together for 2 years until recently. And I really look forward to playing against him. Obviously, it will be a tough match, but I'm just glad that I reached the finals. And there were some nerving moments on my last game, but I eventually managed
Yes,
to
I
pull it
believe
through.
Robert has some insight into that. He's got a few questions for you.
Yeah, Wesley, firstly, congratulations on the fantastic performance.
Thank you, Robert.
Your first game was just a complete masterpiece. You crushed him. It was very straightforward. But your second game was far more complex. He sacrificed the pawn in the position that I have on the board here. Well, I thought black had good chances. Did you see this move queen to d6 here?
Yeah, I saw queen d6. I was going to play knight f3.
So knight f3, and what do you think? Your pawn on f4 is under attack. He can sacrifice
he
his
can
knight
take
on
on
d5.
d5.
It's a very complex position. Were you nervous?
It's a very complex. Yeah, I was nervous, I had to admit. But at the same time, I won the first game, so I'm glad that even if I lose this game, I will still reach the Blitz playoffs. So obviously, it's a very complicated position. He had black, and he absolutely has to win. So he has to go all out, which he did. And fortunately for me, he got low on time.
That's right. You seem to be playing a lot quicker and obviously very, very sharp these days. Now tell us, before you go catch your breath and take some rest before the finals, what is going to be your strategy? Obviously, you can't tell me exactly, but what is your approach?
Well, I know him very well, and actually one of my main preparation for this tournament has been to working with him and playing these games.
And you've both made it to the finals. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I mean, obviously it's a very tough event, and one more match left. But for the match today, or the finals, I guess the spectators could expect exciting games.
Well,
and obviously my main goal is to avoid losing.
Well, I hope that you prepare yourself before the finals. Avoid losing. We are expecting fireworks from you. Thank you so much, Grandmaster Wesley So from the Philippines. Good luck. Over to you, Lawrence.
Yeah, good luck, Wesley. Good luck, Ray. They've put on quite a show for us. Absolutely delighted for both of them. Two young guns, two of the US new hopes. Let's remember that Wesley, despite being born in the Philippines, will be representing the US in future competitions. The fact that they've got him, the fact that they've got the likes of Ray Robson and the various other talents we've seen is just fantastic news. We'll be back for the final between these two ex-roommates at 4:30 Pacific Standard Time. It's going to be great. As Wesley said, a lot of action. It's not going to be a boring one. There's a $50,000 difference as well, so they're both going to be hugely motivated, not to mention being very competitive as they were living together. They're good friends. You want to beat up your friends on the chessboard.
Thank you, Lawrence. That was International Master Lawrence Trent. My name is Ariane Kuili. I'm here with Grandmaster Robert Hess. Grab a sandwich. Don't go away. We will be back at 4:30 Pacific time here, live from Las Vegas. Join us for the final of Millionaire Monday. See you then.